everybody, and welcome to the big day. Of course, it is Lamborghini, the real race Super Trofeo Esports, and it is finals day where we are going to crown a champion. My name is Paul Jeffrey. I'm delighted to welcome you here to the Lamborghini Arena, and I am delighted to welcome my friend and colleague, Mr. Chaz Ricard.
Hello indeed, Paul. I hope it's all going well from where you are over there in Jerez, you lucky devil. But I am very, very delighted to be here for this final of this competition. We've had an absolute riot up to now with every single one of the races that we've covered, and it's been a hell of a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to this finals day. 2 races this time, and we've seen it before ourselves, Paul, with this 2...
Yep, sorry about that one. A bit of an audio difficulty to get the day started, but we'll work our way through these, I'm absolutely sure. And you're absolutely right, Chaz. We've had a fantastic competition all the way through to this point. But these drivers, they're here and now, and they're prepared for the big race. This is what it's all been about, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You know, this is what it all boils down to. You know, we've got so many great drivers on the entry list that we've been given, and they've made their way through so many stages of this competition. They've worked really hard in these races, and now they end up here at this finale. I mean, they're on site where you are. You know, you can see them right behind you. So many of them in the same place physically is so exciting. We've said this about LAN events like this before. It's great to have them all with each other at arm's length, you know, from one sim rig to the next. You could literally just, well, you're not going to hit each other, but you know what I mean. They are at arm's reach from one another. It's so exciting to have that rather than just be in our rigs at home on our own online. You know, it's just, it adds so much more to it that you can't put into words.
Yep, it really does. So let's have a quick look then at some of the highlights of our weekend so far. We're here, of course, at the Jerez de la Frontera circuit for the Lamborghini World Finals. Over 500 Lamborghini cars are taking part in this competition. And right in the heart of the paddock, we've got the Lamborghini Arena that you can see being set up here, a bespoke, custom-built arena that's been put together by AK Esports for this particular event, bringing the difference between real and virtual under one roof. The beautiful Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2 car is what we're racing in sim, and it's what they're racing on the real track. About 40 people have been involved to get this rig up and running, and how it all works together for our drivers to put on these kind of shows. 18 sims, Moser Racing as a technical partner as well, 3 truckloads to get everything together and built up, and 4 days in which to get it set up to be in a position now where we can host this finals day. And Chaz, it's been a monumental effort from AK Esports to put this all together, and it's absolutely wonderful to see it. But of course, it's all down to the drivers now as well, isn't it? And the equipment they're using is our Moser technical partner as well, which have got some fantastic gear, haven't they?
Yeah, they absolutely do. Yeah, Moser jumping on board as the main technical partner of this championship here with the Real Race Super Trofeo Esports. And we're going to jump to a video just now, and we'll be back with you in a second.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Lamborghini Arena in the calm before the storm. Before our drivers take to the track, thought it might be a nice opportunity to explain a little bit more about the kind of equipment they're going to be using. So come with me while we take a tour of our racing rigs. So first we'll talk about the wheel. This is the GSV2P GT, a long name but a very, very ergonomic, very enjoyable, carbon printed on the front. This is what all of our drivers will be using. That is then attached to the Moser R16 wheelbase, 16 Newton meters of torque. So quite a powerful base, but again, as we all know as drivers, you don't want it at the maximum. You just want to be able to feel the detail of the car to help the drivers get around the circuit. And of course, to get around a circuit, you need pedals. And these pedals are the 3-pedal set. I doubt many people will be using a clutch today, it has to be said. But again, from Motor Racing, load cell pedals, really good feel for the drivers, helps them with their consistency, helps them rotate and accelerate the car. All of these things, plus the rig, the monitor, the webcam that we've got on, are vital for our drivers to get in the zone, to feel the immersion and to race against each other. So of course, all this hardware would be absolutely no use if it wasn't for something to race on. And for this competition in the Real Race Super Trofeo Esports, we're using Assetto Corsa Competizione. Why? One very good reason. They've got the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2, the very same car that here at Jerez, the Lamborghini World Finals, are using. There are loads of these Lamborghinis in real life on the track, and we've got 16 of the best esport drivers driving them in a virtual world. So there we go then, that's a brief tour of the equipment we're going to use. I'm going to go and do a few laps, so let's get on with the show.
Thank you very much, Paul in the past for looking at the simulators there and all of the equipment that we're going to be using for this event. It's great to see just how sturdy these rigs are as well and how well put together they are. And that's one of the beautiful things about this, is that they bring all of these drivers together in the same location, but everyone's on the same hardware. Sometimes when you're at home, and I mean, it's racing driver excuses from a sim racer here, but when somebody's on a better wheel or a better set of pedals than me, I always claim that that's why they're faster than me, but then again, it's just natural lack of talent on my side. But you know, it gets rid of that argument, doesn't it, Paul? When everyone's on the same kit, they get the chance as well in the practice sessions to set it all up how they like too, so it really does level the player field, doesn't it?
Yeah, thoroughly agree with you on that one, Chaz. It's one of those, as you say, where it's a bit of a leveller for the drivers. They've all got to acclimatise, they've all got to get used to it in a very short period of time, as well as doing their free practice for this race. So it really is a pressure cooker situation for the drivers, and that's where we see some of the very best drivers and how they get on. But speaking of drivers, we've got our competitors, and earlier today they introduced themselves. So Marco Lome is car number 1, a finalist in the 2023 Real Race Super Trofeo Esports Series. In car number 2, another Italian driver, Luca Lozio. He drove for the Automobili Lamborghini Esport team last year and is looking to work his way back in. Michael Romagnoli, another name, another face that you will recognise from 2023. He's back again for another shake of the stick. Then it's David Kalachai from Hungary. Very strong driver, mightily competitive. He was 4th at Spa-Francorchamps in the last race. Leonardo Pisoni, another one of the Italian drivers. Chaz, 3rd in Spa in round 2.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job. Mateusz Tiszkiewicz, the Polish driver, the only Polish driver in the field this time round. Another one that made his way here from Spa-Francorchamps, and the 4th one from that was, of course, Seminara. We have Thomas Tasker. He made it through from the Red Bull Ring with Mattia Zampedri, who joins him, another Italian driver here in the mix. He's going to be in car number 9. Next up, Janis Reinders, the German driver, one of only a few Germans in the field for this event.
Another German driver is Max Florenz, Barcelona winner from round 4. He's carrying a lot of confidence coming into this one. Then Lorenzo Magnani, another one of our Barcelona qualification drivers. He was 4th position, just made it through. He's hoping to make it count. Stefano Bonsignore, another really strong driver, again from the Barcelona race, and he's looking for that one. And Simone Seminara, our last driver from Italy, another name that you will recognise as a 2023 finalist, Chaz. So our drivers get another bite of the cherry in order to push forward their opportunity to go and win this competition.
They absolutely do, mate. Yeah, they really do. I was a bit confused for a second there because I had Seminara down and I thought, oh no, is he not there? Have I missed something on my entry list? Because I printed it off a long time ago and I thought, oh no, I wonder if it had been updated. But that saved my bacon there at the end that he was there. So yeah, it's great to see that we've got a number of them from all the different races as well. Only 2 that came with us from the Red Bull Ring as well. So I'm excited to see what they do as well. The 2 drivers there are Thomas Tasker and Mattia Zampedri. But as you can see here now, Paul, on the circuit itself, we are at the virtual Donington Park, and it is typically British weather, mate. That's what I expected, isn't it?
I've been to Donington Park more times than I've had dinners, and it's been wet every single time, so it's absolutely perfect. And as you say, we're in the final moments of qualification. The drivers still have an opportunity to complete their lap, even though the checkered flag has been waved. Luca Lozio from Michael Romagnoli, though, are our top 2 drivers in this one, and then Zampedri, a 10th of a second, Chaz, covering the top 3. This is close, and can Zampedri improve on his final throw?
Have to wait and see. He comes across the line. No, he does not. Remains in 3rd position. Florenz in 4th at the moment. Tiskovic goes back to the pits, and he remains in 5th position. And then Lomi in 6th place right now. Here's Ho Chung Chan, currently right in the thick of the field in 7th, does not improve on that position. Bonsignore is the car behind him in 8th. Here's Seminara, 12th at the moment in the orange and blue machine. Straight lines it. He must be on a faster lap, but no improvement in terms of his position. You can see sometimes that when they know they're on a good lap, they'll take a straight line out of the final corner. And look at the amount of circuit that Janis Reinders is using there. He heads into the hairpin now and then runs for the line. But yeah, very tricky conditions here actually, Paul. This is going to be a massive challenge for these drivers. Basically, as hard as it could possibly be. I mean, Donington Park is a big commitment circuit, and in cars like this, they're a little bit more slippery than GT3 cars in the wet as well. When there's other drivers of such a caliber against you, there's not many really tougher places to go racing, is there?
Yeah, completely agree. It's my local circuit in real life, so it's very close to my heart. And Donington, as you say, it's quite a technical circuit. It's quite difficult to overtake. And these are only 30-minute races, but it is worth mentioning to the good folks at home and the people behind me in the arena. This is a 30-minute race. There's 2 of them. We're going to pull Ricard straight after this one, and they are points-paying competitions, Chaz. So you've got to get the results. Otherwise, you're going to make it very difficult for yourself going into the second race, aren't you?
Yeah, I think we did a number of races in this competition where they were just one-hour race, and the drivers didn't have to pit in any of that time. They didn't have to think about the tyres or the fuel. Well, they maybe had to think about the tyres a bit just in case of looking after them in an hour-long stint. But in the half-hour races, we saw a different mix of how the drivers approached it. Some of them were straight out of the gates and big guns right down to the first corner, and then they absolutely annihilated the tyres in the early stages. But then later on, they sort of paid for that, didn't they, by the fact that they had so little tyre life in the latter stages of the race. So it's, and obviously then there's the points to consider as well, I should say. You know, they have to think about, are they going to start on the back foot? Are they going to have a good start out of the blocks for the first race to then give them an easier ride in race 2? You never know, and we have to assess every single lap based on how these drivers approach it.
And that's exactly right. It's going to be a very strategic affair. So let's take a look then at the grid for this first race of the day in the finals of the European region. Luca Lozio from Michael Romagnoli are your front row of the grid. Then we've got Mattia Zampedri and Max Florenz, 3rd and 4th position. In car number 7, it is Matthias Tiskovic in 5th. And then to the right-hand side of your screen, with number 1 on the door, it is Marco Lomi. Only 6th in qualifying. A lot of work to do. Very impressive qualification for our wild card driver that qualified in China for Motor Racing, Ho Chung Chan, in 7th. Really good position for him. Alongside him, keeping him company, is Stefano Bonsignore, car number 13. Will it be unlucky for Bonsignore? We'll find out in a few moments' time. David Kolachai will be starting in 9th place. Janis Reinders is alongside him. 10th place on the car. 10th place in the grid. Luca Pisoni will be starting in the beautiful pink machine, car number 5, in 11th position. There are the drivers that we can see in the arena just getting ready with only a couple of moments to go until qualification changeover to the race take place, and then we're going to do that 30-minute race. And Chaz, no pit stops, a little bit of wet stuff away from the crowd as well. Give us a cheer, crowd. Give us a cheer cry. Yeah, it's beautiful stuff. Chaz, this is going to be a very, very intense 30 minutes. I'm already starting to get a little bit damp-palmed myself, and I'm not driving.
I've been the same here, even with my pen. I feel sorry for my poor pen here in my office because I'm throwing it between each hand, just getting really buzzing for this race. Getting really, really buzzing. It's not quite the weather that you've got there in Jerez, Paul, but I tell you what, right now, looking out of my window here in the UK, it's very realistic for how this weather is right now. I'm not far from down the road from Donington Park myself, maybe a little bit further from Yi, but it's certainly a day like this in the UK right now. You'll be grateful that you're over there in Spain, to tell you that much for free. Still, everybody excited there in the arena by the look of it. Some great anticipation ahead of this race, and that's not just from us two. It's certainly going to be building up. They go away from the line for the first time, and Luca Lozio taking that pole position, he's put a bit of a target on his back here, I'd say, because he's instantly said to everybody, look, in these conditions and in this moment in time, I'm the quickest driver. He's the one with everything to lose, if you ask me, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. The pressure's on. From pole position, you've got a clear track, you've got a clear line of sight ahead of you, of course, but then, as you say, you put a target on your back. The pressure is on you. You know that this is your opportunity to either win or throw everything away. So for Luca in car number 2, there's going to be a lot of pressure, but there's a lot of pressure for all of our drivers. It's a full formation lap, of course, and then we head into a rolling start. And wet conditions are really something you would expect coming into a final competition, and that really throws the cat amongst the pigeons for these drivers, doesn't it? Because you know, Chaz, I know, and the folks at home, I'm sure, know very well indeed, what you do in the dry, the way you behave in a dry race, is a very different prospect when the rain starts falling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that really does throw the cat amongst the pigeons. That's absolutely the right phrase for it, because some drivers, you know, they can be as fast as they like in the dry, but sometimes when it comes to wet conditions, you see different drivers shine through, and I think it's really exciting to see that they've added that into this finale here. They are not going easy on these drivers whatsoever. They're giving them some very tough conditions as well. It's not even like it's slightly damp and there's a dry line. There is a lot of water absolutely everywhere these drivers go on the circuit. We may see a dry line form, but it seems like most of the spray is just coming from the actual cars rather than any rain that's falling on the circuit as of right now. So I'm scared for these drivers almost, because, well, especially Lozio and Romagnoli at the front, they're going to be the two guinea pigs here that get to all the wet patches of this circuit in anger first.
That's very true, but then we also saw the onboard of Bonsignore a few moments ago, and the amount of spray that's in his windshield is just absolutely incredible. So you're as bad burnt or scolded, really, aren't you? You want to be the front man, so you've got the clear view, but then you're the first in the line of fire, and that's a real big ask for a driver when the pressure is just so high, with there's so much riding on this.
Yeah, it really is. You know, you have to have your wits about you just in case there's any sniff of an incident ahead. We're going to see a lot of hesitation from the drivers a bit further down the order here, but it's almost crunch time, Paul. Getting very, very excited for this one. It must be buzzing there in the arena, so I'll leave it to you and we'll get this race underway.
Absolutely, as the famous phrase once went, you can cut the tension with a cricket stump, and that's exactly what it feels. It's almost electric, which is scary when I've got so much electrical equipment near me, but the atmosphere is almost electric here in the Lamborghini Arena as we get ready to go racing for the first time today. It is finals day in Lamborghini, the real race, Super Trofeo Esports European Regional Final. Luca Lozio on pole position from Michael Romagnoli, and then Zampedri and Florenz just behind. The lights go green, everything gets a little bit loud as we head down to Redgate for the very first lap. Tentative throughout the field, a little bit of bumping and boring further down the pike, but Lozio gets the perfect start at the front of the field. That's a little bit of a run wide as well. I think that was Zampedri making his way through, so Romagnoli one down already, and look at the spray on that onboard.
Absolutely brilliant stuff from Zampedri. Great commitment in the opening couple of corners. I think the neon green machine in the middle of the pack was the one that had the only bit of contact around turn 1. I'm pretty sure that was Marco Lomi, car number 01, and it was as well. He had a little tap from behind us. Oh, a bit of contact there through McLean's, the two cars behind. That's Ho Chung Chan and Bonsignore coming together as well. They both got away with it, but they ran a little bit wide through the right-hander. Goodness me, the spray is absolutely insatiable, and these Hurricanes do not really cater for cars behind them either. They really do throw up big old rooster tails. But look at this now. Lomi, car number 1, that bright green machine, Paul. He's going to be on it like a car bonnet straight off the bat here, pushing like mad. Huge slide through the chicane, and he has got a point to prove. He's car number 1 coming into this race, so maybe a bit of pressure on his shoulders as down the inside he goes.
Oh, a little bit too deep into the Melbourne loop for Lomi. That's really going to cost him on corner exit. He's lost out, of course, to Tiskovic. But I think Bonsignore as well is trying to buy into this one. We're riding on board with the number 6 machines. We head down into the final corner now. First time these drivers in racing conditions have explored the grip that is or is not available on this Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. But for now, everybody survives. All the cars that started are still running in this race. A little bit of a look for Bonsignore to the inside. More defence than attack, I think, on that occasion. That is the 14 of Chan trying to buy into this one as well. Chan, remember, didn't go through the qualification race phases. This is the first time that we have seen the Chinese driver in action, and he's doing an absolutely sterling job in that number 14, harrying the back of Bonsignore. But the number 13 has not been unlucky at this moment in time, soaking that pressure up like a sponge.
Yeah, and you'd want to be a sponge in this weather, wouldn't you, as well? You'd really want to be absorbing whatever you could. You can see the drivers even getting brave enough to go over some of the curbs here. Seems like you can really push the limits here in Assetto Corsa Competizione, and that's one of the best things about driving in this sim. It really is lively, it's very immersive, there's a lot of noise, a lot of rumbles, and the force feedback's very heavy as well, so you feel everything the car is doing, which is what you want in wet conditions. You want to know when the car is going light, when it's getting a bit twitchy. We see here Seminara side by side now with Magnani. Magnani in the red machine, Seminara in the orange, glued to each other, wing mirror to wing mirror into the chicane. But as the tyre stack gets sent for a good one, it is at the moment Seminara losing the place actually to Magnani. Magnani moving further ahead now. Seminara at car number 6. Oh, back down the inside though, brave stuff that is. And great respect there left by Magnani round the outside. But is he going to get away with it, Paul? Because this is one of those circuits, isn't it, here, Donington Park, where you get one corner and then it goes the opposite way again. So you're never really at a full advantage until you get the move done.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you've got to be careful as well, because while these guys are squabbling, they're hemorrhaging time to the rest of the pack. And let's remember, it is only the top 10 drivers that score points in these races. 11th on down, they're going to get absolutely nothing. So you really need to be in the top 10 to keep yourself in that conversation for the competition, to keep yourself in the fight to become the next Automobili Lamborghini eSport team driver, a professional eSports driver. Let's not forget, for Lamborghini does not get bigger than that. That's what these guys are racing for, and Simone Seminara is absolutely on stilts at this moment in time, trying to find a way past Magnani, but so far the red car is hitting all his P's and Q's quite nicely and giving no opportunity for the number 6 machine to find a way past.
This is why it's really cool to have a bit of a smaller field for this finale, with just the top 10 scoring points. There's few cars that don't score in something like this. So even if you are having a poor race, or by your own standards anyway, a poor race and dropping down the order slightly, if you can just finish in the top 10, just get that one extra point, then you will at least be able to move ahead of some drivers that still don't score at all. So you've got to be in it to win it all of the time in something like this. I mean, we've said it all the way through, haven't we, really, Paul? You've got to be properly on it in all of these races. You cannot give up. And at the same time, it's how it reflects on you as a person to Lamborghini. They watch this. This is what they use to pick their esports drivers. If you show that regardless of a bad result or even regardless of a good result, that you don't sort of hold you to sort of a decent standard of how you control yourself and how you show yourself, then, that part of your character could be detrimental, couldn't it, in the long run?
Absolutely, that's precisely. We've said this so many times, haven't we, in the qualification race broadcast. It's a shop window, not just for Lamborghini, but also for other esports teams and manufacturers. You want to represent yourself in the best way possible. And in fact, in the driver's briefing, just a little bit earlier on today, it was reiterated to these drivers that we're not just looking for the quickest, we're not just looking for the winner, we're looking for somebody who can represent the brand. And a brand like Lamborghini does not get any bigger or more prestigious than that. So you've got to be an ambassador in every way, shape and form, from performance to presentation to professionalism to the way you deal with yourself in public and with the media and with the organiser of the event. And so far from what I've seen, all of those, apart from the racing side of things, have been ticked off very nicely by these drivers. But now it's the real bread and butter, isn't it? This is what matters now. You've got to leave nothing on the racetrack. And Luca Lozio, I will say, is doing a very good job, as he makes a little mistake into Melbourne. Perfectly on cue, Paul. Well played, sir. But he's doing a very nice job to have eked out a small cushion over Zampedri behind. So it's good work. Clear track, really, or clear windshield at least. Really does help in these conditions, Chaz.
Yeah, absolutely. It was nearly 1.2 seconds earlier. He lost a tenth or two with that slight run wide into the hairpin. But it is one of those corners, in fairness, where you can run wide and then regain a lot of momentum on the exit. You get quite a slingshot out of there, so you never know. It could have worked for him better in the long run. The gap is still about 1.1 seconds right now. We're currently looking at the car in 8th position, which is Ho Chung Chan, currently car number 14. And, well, I say that like car number 14 is going to change to anything else. But we have Bonsignore, the next car in front, and not too far ahead either. We have only a small gap between them, but the rest of the field starting to move further away. David Coloce is in the neon machine just behind them, and he's going to be filling the mirrors quite a lot, I imagine. But it's great to see this wild card in here then, Paul. Ho Chung Chan certainly throwing it amongst the order, which is great to see.
Yeah, Jan's doing an absolutely sterling job in these conditions so far. He's very excited to be here at Jerez, to be here as part of the Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports Series. As I've mentioned a few times now, but it's worth reiterating, Moser Racing, our technical partner for this series, they ran a wildcard hot lap competition over in the Asia region for drivers to participate. And the qualified drivers from that one get the opportunity to come to Spain, here to Jerez, to the Lamborghini World Finals Day and compete in this final race. Ho Chung Chan being the one that made it through and is doing a very good job indeed. Lorenzo Magnani almost making an absolute fist of that one, manages the Melbourne Loop. Again, problem corner is the Melbourne Loop, but Magnani just about manages to get away with that one. It's a little bit further down. Janis Reinders, the German driver, is under all kinds of excitement for the drag up to Redgate. Will he get it done though? That's the big question.
Well, to be fair, he's having a go at Personi, and Personi just went really, really late into the hairpin. He had to keep... Oh, a bit of contact there on the exit. I was going to say, he had to keep winding the lock on and on and on. We saw it from the shot on the right-hand side there. He had over 180 degrees of lock on, just begging the car to make the corner. But again, just going too deep into these hairpins is an absolute nightmare. And there's a lot of painted sections here at Donington Park. It's one of the great British circuits that has basically just kept itself as it is. You know, there's not much runoff here and there. It hasn't spoiled itself with different track limits. It's quite old school still, isn't it, Paul? There's a lot of grass that you can run onto here, and then it's just barriers. You know, it's still a very unforgiving circuit in most places. Yep,
it's my favourite place in the whole wide world, it has to be said. But again, as you say, it is old school, which means the circuit is quite narrow as well in comparison to, let's say, FIA Grade 1 racing facilities. And that reduces the opportunity a little for these drivers to get side by side. Wet conditions are the great leveller, of course, so side-by-side action we're definitely going to see, but it minimises the opportunity of where you can make the overtaking manoeuvres. Here in the Melbourne Loop is one of the best braking events of the lap, one of the easiest chances to get side-by-side, which, as we've already seen it in these weather conditions, it's also a track and a corner where mistakes are very easy to make, and if you make a little mistake, you're very vulnerable to those behind, aren't you, for an attack, just as perfectly on cue we see there through the final corner.
Yeah, I think Magnani was almost in a bit of a defensive mode there, because he went a little bit deep into the hairpin to make sure he had a good slingshot so that Seminara could not gain any pace on him. And what he did was, in doing that, put the car right in the middle of the road and really slowed it down, so Seminara couldn't go around the outside, he couldn't go around the inside, he was just in the middle of the road with nowhere to go, so he had to jab the brakes, had to get out of that one, and Magnani stays to fight ahead in terms of his position. Now, don't forget, there's no reverse grid element or anything to any of this. We have another qualifying session between race 1 and race 2, so drivers get the chance to reset their lap times, go from a clean slate. So these guys, they don't have to battle for any sort of reverse grid positions and think where they're going to be in race 2 in a little bit, but they just basically have to just try and run for points in this. You never know in these conditions in particular when somebody could make a mistake in front. Big slide there from Seminara, but we've seen over the course of this competition, haven't we, Paul, that these cars, you can slide them around quite a lot and it doesn't cost you time. You can just sort of keep that over rotation in your back pocket and use it to conceive the momentum for the next corner.
You're absolutely right, and as well, what's really good news to help sort of extracts even more of that kind of behaviour is it's definitely not going to dry up any time soon. Seminara has a little look to the inside. Magnani thinks, I don't like the idea of that one, but Seminara uses the beautiful nose of the Huracan Super Trofeo just to give a little bit of a lift and a shove to the car ahead, but it didn't quite work on this occasion, and now he's got to rethink it again. Outside line is not where you want to be through Goddard's. Try and get the cut back with Simone Seminara, can't do it on this occasion. Magnani holds on to that one. Remember, this is the fight for 12th and 13th position. You can just see Thomas Tasker in the background as well. Tasker not having a great race so far, but he's still staying in it. Eight is the number on the side of Tasker's car. He finished 4th at the Red Bull Ring in round 3, and this is absolutely not the way that he wanted to start his finals day.
No, definitely not. It's not really worked out for him in these opening stages, that's safe to say, but you never know how the cars will behave a little bit later on in the race. We've seen before that these wet tyres, or the intermediates that they'll probably be running at this point, they do go off a lot more quickly than the dries do, so all down to temperature. They just can't overwork them. Don't forget, these have got grooves and little ridges and all sorts on them, and they can melt away if they're pushed hard enough. especially in drying conditions. We've seen it before. But right now, Yanis Reinders trying to get into the top 10. Here is the look over the shoulder of Magnani's car, with Seminara right behind him, hoping to try and take advantage. You can see just how much the force feedback is shaking the rig and the camera that was propped up on it there. Shows you just how powerful these wheels are. Back on board though, with Seminara now trying to see through the spray. That red Lamborghini in front again gets it stopped to the apex, puts his nose down the inside, but that's Magnani defending. Magnani puts the car in the middle of the racing line and just doesn't give him anywhere to go. Watch him here, look, he'll go a little bit deep into the hairpin, deeper than Seminara. But then look, as he cuts back, Seminara's got nowhere to go, and then he's still got the run on the exit of the corner as Magnani. It's really good defensive driving. He won't want to have to do this for this position because it's a position outside the top 10. But he's showing still, regardless of his position, just how good a driver he is, Paul. And this, again, is that shop window aspect that we spoke about.
Now from Magnani at this moment in time, as you say, unfortunately, it is not for the points-paying places, but this one most certainly is, and that is Michael Romagnoli. Qualified in second position, let's not forget. He's dropped down into third place as things stand, but he's certainly having a better endeavour than we saw in 2023. If you remember rightly, Romagnoli didn't do so well, blew the engine into T1 with a little bit too aggressive on the downshift, so it's looking a lot better. Second time of asking for the Italian driver. He's got the confidence, he's got the experience from the on-site competition last time around, and now he's using that to very good effect indeed, as the crowd watch on as our competitors continue to fight tooth and nail. We've almost hit the halfway mark in this race, Chaz, and so far Luca Lozio is absolutely the man on form. 2 seconds now, he's eked that gap up at the front of the field from Zampedri, but this is the fight. Romagnoli, Max Florenz just behind, trying desperately to find a way past Florenz though, in the blue car. He needs to be pinpoint precise. If he's going to make a move, it's got to be 100% on, because Romagnoli will shut that door faster than a cold breeze in the living room.
Yeah, absolutely. He's really got to be on it here, and it has to be a considerable run as well. And this is one of the difficult things when you're in a one-make race as well. The driver in front of you is in the same car, so you can't use what you might use in GT3 racing and think, you know, my car has a strength down the straights or my car has a strength in the braking zones. These drivers now have to work against each other in the same equipment, and that's why one-make racing is so exciting, because it comes more down to the driver and how they are suited to the conditions at the time. I said earlier that it didn't look like there was rain falling. Clearly, I just didn't open my eyes properly, because it is absolutely pouring down here at the virtual Donington Park and will continue to do so until the very end of this race by the look of it. Speaking of, we're just hitting the halfway point, Paul. Now, I don't know you. Well, I do know you. I don't know about you, mate, but the 15 minutes that have just gone didn't feel like 15 minutes, did they?
Absolutely not. It's been so frantic on track. I'm looking over my shoulder at the drivers racing in their rigs, and you can just see how wet it is from their point of view. Often, just like in television, often the screens of the off-board cameras don't quite give you the full impact of the wet conditions, although Assetto Corsa Competizione does do a great job of simulating the rain, but it is absolutely torrential out there for these drivers. Seminara almost gets it all crossed up in the run down of the Foggy Essers, does well actually not to incur a track limits penalty, it has to be said. Now let's have a look in the Melbourne Loop. Will it be the same trick again? Yes. Seminara, snowplow-esque on the front of the car, just tries to tap Magnani off the line, but Magnani, well aware of that one by now, has every base covered.
Zampedri's just on the fastest lap of the race here, Paul. 1:33.887. The car in second position, getting closer and closer to our race leader. And when we spoke about the points earlier on, we need to mention that there is a 4-point difference between first place and second place. You get 16 points for winning a race, then you just get 12. I mean, say just. You get 12 points for second, then it's 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So having those extra 4 points just over second place is going to be a massive, massive bonus to anyone that wins these races. And Zampedri knows that. He wants to go chasing now for that race victory, while these drivers behind Romagnoli and Florenz battle over 10 points and 8 points respectively as they head up towards Coppice. Just earlier on in the race, by the way, cars number 2 and 3, which is our race leader Luca Lozio, and car number 3, who we look at now, Romagnoli, actually had identical fastest laps of the race, a 1:34.255. But now, as you've seen, Zampedri has brought that time down by 0.4 of a second, so he's going very, very quickly indeed. Saw a bit of a slide there also for Romagnoli through the chicane. Is Florenz maybe getting to him a little bit here, Paul?
Yeah, it does look a little bit like the number 3 machine. It says 4 in the bottom hand corner there, but trust me, he's in 3rd position, is Michael Romagnoli, and it does look like the pressure is starting to take hold in this battle for the bottom step of the podium, because yes, you're absolutely right, Chaz, points are on offer, and the more points you get, the better your chances of success. But it's also, as you and I have spoken about so many times during the qualification phase and last season as well, it's also the mental game. Get one over on your rival, and then you've already got a little bit of an advantage in the back pocket coming in to the next time you meet on track. So I'm absolutely certain that Max Florenz will be giving everything he's got to get that bottom step of the podium into his own name. Leonardo Pisoni that we're looking at now, he's in 10th position, car number 5, that's the pink machine in the middle of your shot. Leonardo is currently on course for the singular point. We run down the hill into the old hairpin, but there's a bit of pressure because Janos Reinders behind is starting to get very, very interested in the back of that Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. And let's remember, it's wet, and tyre wear will be a thing in this one. We've seen it so many times before, Chaz. The tyres start to get overheated, they burn off the tread, there's less grip, there's less traction, and this becomes a whole lot more difficult to get these cars quickly around the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit.
Yeah, that's it. It's only going to get more and more difficult now. And, you know, the drivers could see, of course, the way that the circuit develops, it's not going to get any drier, but they get more and more muscle memory. The more times that you lap somewhere like this in the wet, you'll know where some of the standing water is, especially over those curbs. So many of the drivers are sideways through that chicane. It's a great shot. You see them often coming out of there, turning left, and then the car, obviously, with the nose pointed to the right, looks oh so beautiful, but Reinders tries it round the outside. Pisoni says, no, I want this final championship point, please. I want to keep hold of it. I don't want you to take it away. I expect Reinders, yep, there it is. Big send down the inside. I thought he was going to send it. Pisoni has to get it stopped as well and make sure that it leaves in the room. Well done, though, to Reinders there, because he got the car stopped. I thought he was going to go straight on and end up at East Midlands Airport for a moment there, but he managed to keep that tucked in very, very nicely, Paul, and that's a well-executed move, I'd say. Yeah, really good bit of driving from both of those drivers. Gave each other the racing room that they commanded. Oh, almost threw it away, did Reinders on the exit off Redgate. As we run downhill now into Crater Curve, the most famous section of corners, of course, on the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. It's not really a passing overtaking opportunity into the old hairpin, and Leonardo Pisoni loses the car, too much speed, loses the rear end. He tried valiantly to catch the machine, but unfortunately Pisoni, that has not worked out well at all, and from losing the top 10 to losing the race in its entirety, it's going to be a lot of work now for the Italian driver to recover what's been lost in that one. That's absolutely devastating. Not only was it that one championship point that just slipped through his grasp, but also the entire competitive edge to try and get back at Reinders has gone as well. That's a massive, massive shame. Here's the battle then for 3rd position once more. Florenz chasing down Romagnoli. Car 3 is P3 at the minute. You can see them building up the revs out of the hairpin at the bottom of the hill, and then back up over the crest in towards Goddard. It's a really horrific hairpin in a GT car because it suddenly goes downhill. It's off camber as well, and the apex is actually blind as you head up to it. You need to use a lot of braking markers on the right hand side, then tuck the car in as late as you possibly can, and these guys need to work on getting the slingshot. Now we've seen, look, Magnani's been doing it for a while. Seminara has been sat behind him while he's been doing that, and now Seminara, you can see he's thinking, all right then, I'll try this approach, this final corner as well then, see how it works out for me. And that's why it's great for drivers like this to go up against each other, isn't it, Paul? Because they may be some of the very best in the world on a set of Corsa Competizione, but you can always learn from your competitors. Every day is a school day, regardless of what car or what track it is. There's always more and more information that you could pick up.
Oh yes, for sure, absolutely it is. And of course, anything that you can learn could be an advantage to you for a future race. And Simone Seminara does a little bit of grass cutting there, using all of the racetrack and a little bit more to try to find his way past. And half of that is trying something different. The other half of it is purely he can't see. He cannot see through his windscreen because of the spray from the car ahead, and it's very, very easy to get a little bit unsighted, to lose where you are on the racetrack, and before you know it, you're cutting Jonathan Palmer's lawn for him and probably heading straight into the barrier. So Seminara needs to calm things down a little bit in his pursuit, but he's rapidly, Chaz, running out of time to get on level terms with Magnani. Let's remember, these guys are only one place away from the points if something should happen further up.
Yeah, that's it. They need to be in the zone to be able to pick up that point if anything happens. I mean, a battle like this, for example, Florenz chasing down Romagnoli here. Either of these guys could come together just with an overzealous move, a slight underestimation of each other, or, just a human error. And that's all it comes down to here. We've often seen it in motorsport recently where just simple human error is considered a real sort of penalty-worthy move. And hopefully we're not getting any of those today. It's very, very tight, though. All these drivers doing an amazing job. So clean so far. And to do that in conditions like this really does show the talent level of this field. Max Florenz trying his very best to keep it tidy through the old hairpin, one of the most formidable corners in the UK, and it comes just after probably the second most formidable corner in the UK as you come down the Craner curves. And then up towards McLean's. McLean's, for me, Paul, often a very underestimated corner. It looks nice and tidy from a TV camera like that, but as you drive it in the sim, it's almost a blind apex and exit, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You're looking up at the sky as you approach it. The track falls away as you get rounded, and Coppice, exactly the same kind of corner. Simple on paper, but can very, very quickly win you or lose you significant amounts of time. Speaking of winning and losing, by the way, Chaz, while we've been watching these battles, Luca Lozio recognised that Matteo Sampedri had the quickest lap and was closing the gap and decided to do something about it. Lozio now is the fastest lap holder and he's stretched that lead out to 2.4 seconds at the front of the field. And based on the gaps that we've seen this season, that's almost night and day. That's how close it's been. And Luca Lozio, absolutely, rain dance has paid off for this young man, and it is working wonderfully for car number 2 so far. And look at that one, less than a tenth, or just over a tenth, sorry, off his best lap. That's consistency for you. That's what wins you motor races, real or virtual.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about consistency. I was talking to a friend of mine about a certain two-wheeled championship that may be decided in Spain this weekend as well. And I think the guy going up to win that championship has only won 2 races, where the guy that is in second, that could be champion as well, has won 8 races. And it shows you the consistency, because driver or rider number 1 has clearly been more consistent in the times when he hasn't been winning. Whereas, you could win a bunch more races than everybody else, but if all of your other results are DNFs, what's the point? It's either, a friend of mine once said, trees or trophies when it came to rallying, which is one of my favourite phrases of all time. But in terms of a championship fight, that's not how you need to see it. You need to just look at it as points mean prizes. And that's what these drivers have to do here today as well. They have to be as consistent as possible between these 2 races and get the most out of them when the time comes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a 2 races, both points paying. Whoever scores the most points will be crowned the champion, of course, of the Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports EU Regional Final, which we're doing today on site at the Jerez de la Frontera circuit in Spain. And you're absolutely right, you need that consistency, you need to map that with a little bit of pace as well, of course, to get the best result you possibly can. But I dare say, I'm going to future predict, which is always a little bit risky on live television, but I'm going to future predict that the person that takes this trophy will be the one that minimises their mistakes, that banks whatever it is that's available to them when it's available. Just because Lozio is leading and looking like he's going to win this one, if he has an absolute nightmare next round out, it could be Max Florenz, for example, that takes the victory and the points. You never know, but you've got to go for everything that's on the table every time.
Yeah, definitely. It's just about ensuring that you show your very best, whether it's in the car, whether it's out of the car as well, and how you sort of conduct yourself. That was the word I was trying to find earlier on, conduct. Whether it comes to interviews and just even your online social media presence as well, you have to think about everything and be the whole package as drivers. Everybody looks to social media now for pretty much everything. And there's a car off. That is the number 1 machine. That's Marco Lomi around. Lomi has been off the circuit and drops out of the top 10. The car that came here with the number 1 on it is potentially one of the very top seeds. He has dropped way down the order, and I'd argue, out of the top 10, Paul.
That is devastating for Marco Lomi. 7th position at the time of the mistake. That's 4 points that he was looking to bank from this first race. One small mistake, though the timing screen will update itself in a few moments' time when they go through their next sector. But Marco Lomi down in 12th place, and that opens the door for Magnani. Magnani is now the last of the point sitters. That Seminara Magnani fight that we've been looking at all race long, that one's now become all the more urgent for those two drivers. Michael Romagnoli that we're looking at here, still in third position, still got Max Florenz painting himself to the back of that Lamborghini. That's going to be a big fight to keep our eyes on. But just like we said, Chaz, not 15 minutes ago, if you stay in the race, it is always an opportunity. A mistake from somebody else brings you into the points. That's exactly what Luca Magnani's found for this one.
Yeah, definitely. You know, all of that hard defending ahead of Seminara has now paid off, and he's got the position that he wanted. He's got that point. That could make all the difference when it comes down to the end of this event. You know, there's only one more race to go, and that could be so different to this race. The conditions might be different. It's on a completely different circuit as well. Obviously going to Paul Ricard in France, and I think it's going to be a mighty, mighty exciting race all the same, because we've always said it, Paul, we've always assessed these circuits, haven't we, between you and I, and wondered whether it's a good circuit to hot lap or whether it's a good circuit for racing. I'd always say Donington's a good circuit to lap as well, just on your own, while also being great for racing. Paul Ricard, I'd rather go to sleep than lap it on my own. However, for racing, it is incredible, isn't it? So I'm really looking forward to that second one. And let's not forget, we're not done here yet, but still, I'm doing a bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. It frustrates me that Paul Ricard produces such good races, because I always criticise it, but it always shows me up. Always. The same. And look at this one. Look at the crowd now in the arena. They're all waving to the cameras. We like to see that one. Give us a cheer, crowd. Hope you're all enjoying yourselves. It's been a slow burner, this race. At the early stages, a little bit of nerves, I think it's fair to say, from some of these drivers, but it is absolutely coming alive now, not least of which is because of Max Florenz, the blue car number 11, getting ever closer to Michael Romagnoli. Michael, there we go, we're seeing picture in picture there. A picture of concentration is the Italian driver, but he knows he's had a motor race. Nearly 30 minutes that he's held back the number 11 machine behind. There's only a couple more laps to go for Romagnoli. The big question is, though, how desperate is Florenz going to be to find a way past? Is he going to get aggressive, Chaz, do you think, on this one? Or is it going to be a case of, let's bank the points and just see what happens over the last minute or so of running?
I think bank the points at this stage. You know, it's race one of two. As I said earlier on, as drivers, you want to go into the second race with as much in your back pocket as possible. You know, you don't want to be on the back foot as soon as this event starts, because Lomi now in particular will feel absolutely gutted, because he's going to go into the second race with 0 points. These guys, they're going to at least have some points on the board, so they know that, you know, it's not that they won't work as hard in the second race, but you know, when the pressure's off a little bit, it just makes your life so much easier, and you can't put a price on that as a driver at all, can you? No,
I completely agree with that one. It's all the long game that these drivers have got to play. They've got to think as what's happening now, but also think what's to come further down the road. Unfortunately, Thomas Tasker, his day is done. He's in pit lane, so it's going to be a DNF in this first race. As now we look at Luca Lozio through the final corner, accelerating to the line. There's 12 seconds left on the clock. He will cross that line. And there we go, the final lap has commenced. Luca Lozio, one more tour of the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, 4 kilometres, 12 corners. What can possibly go wrong in the rain with all the pressure in the world on his shoulders?
Well, now you've said it.
No, commentators curse.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be fair though, commentators' curses only work when you don't cue them up, to be fair. They just come out of nowhere like a lightning bolt out of the blue. So now you've done that, I think it's going to be a bit of the opposite. Still, Luca Lozio doing a great job, and he's been exemplary at the front of this field. And to be fair, Zampedri in second place has been just as good, just not in terms of pace. The two of them have both got away from the rest of the field by a good 6.3 seconds, and they're going to be very happy about that. And of course, they'll want to have an easy ride in the second race, but the 4-point difference between Lozio and Zampedri is going to be another thing that you cannot put a price on here. Lozio will be over the moon. He just needs to keep it tidy throughout these final couple of corners. Just so happens that those are some of the most difficult in the entire of the UK, even Europe, when it comes down to wet conditions. That chicane all sorted and dealt with, but now 2 off-camber hairpins to deal with, Paul, and then Lozio will bank the points.
Yeah, we've seen plenty of drivers throw it off this late in the race, but I don't think it's going to be the case for the Italian driver. He came into the qualifying rounds at Imola, which was race number 1 and he finished in first position. He came into the final, race number 1, and there's a smile on his face. That's the boy who knows he's done well for the final time at Donington Park. A little bit of a cheer, a little bit of a wave, and the checkered flag has taken. Luca Lozio is your race winner here for the Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports European Regional Final, race number 1 of 2. Matteo Zampedri crosses the line in second. Michael Romagnoli holds on to the death in third position. Max Florenz just behind, shadowing him for the full 30 minutes. Matthias Tiskovic crosses the line in fifth. Stefano Bonsignore in sixth, and that is a really good performance in seventh. Ho Chung Chan, 7th position, having not done the qualifiers, came in from a wild card. A great result from him. David Kolochai is just behind. Well, Chaz, half of the battle is now complete for these drivers. There's not wild cheers down there from the teams and drivers because they know they've got a lot still in front of them, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, for our race winner, Luca Lozio, that is only half the job done, in fairness. You know, he's got to now repeat that, and well, he doesn't necessarily have to win that next race, but if he finishes second, then no matter what, he's guaranteed it, basically, because no other driver can surpass him in terms of points then. And Zampedri, if he ends up winning this race, they are going to be tied on points, and I think it comes back down to qualifying times as a result, so that would mean that Lozio takes the victory then, basically. So yeah, he's at least locked that in, because now you've got that in your back pocket, then you know the confidence will be there, I think, for this second race. But it's a different circuit, so it's not going to be a direct carbon copy of what we've just seen, is it? That's the thing. Some of these drivers could be better in dry conditions than they are in wet conditions, and it's on a completely different track. And Paul Ricard is certainly a circuit where you need a bit of, what do they call it, a bit of a oh god, it really has actually gone, I'm not just putting that on. What's it called? I can't think of what it is. Just a specialist subject. It needs to be a specialist subject, does Paul Ricard. Flipping out.
But the thing is, I mean, you said at the start of this race that with Luca on pole position, he's had a target on his back. He's a race winner now, so that target has just got so much bigger, hasn't it? He's now, the pressure is all on his shoulders. We've seen a few replay highlights from the race that we have just witnessed, the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit in wet conditions. Off of the line, Chaz, it was very neat and tidy at the front, but there was a little bit of shenanigans further back. That's the 13 with Stefano Bonsignore, just a bit of a kiss all the way through T1.
Yeah, a little bit of a tap there with, I think, the number 6 machine. No, it was number 5 of Leonardo Passoni, and he had a spin in the latter stages. That bollard got away lucky there, didn't it? That was very, very close. It was great to see these beautiful cars and the sound they make as well, going down through the crane curves in the wet with the torrential rain here at Donington Park. The spray looking excellent here in Assetto Corsa Competizione. There is the move down the inside early on by Bonsignore. That was the contact that I mentioned that he had with Ho Chung Chan. The two of them got away with it and managed to continue on in the race. Ho Chung Chan in the end coming home in 7th position for 4 points. Bonsignore finishing just ahead in 6th place. So yeah, it was pretty epic stuff. And well, we've got one race done now out of the way, Paul, with these drivers in wet conditions, and I'm excited to see whether the sun's shining or not at Paul Ricard, because last time we were there it was.
Yep, the sun is always shining at Paul Ricard. So we're going to leave you with these highlights on screen so you can soak in some of the action that you've just enjoyed. And in a few moments' time, did you like the soak, by the way, everybody, for the rain? Ha ha ha, thank you very much, I'm here all day. So you can soak up the action that you see on screen, and then we'll be back in a few moments' time where we get ready to go qualifying and racing at Paul Ricard. Hello everybody and welcome back, and I'm delighted to be joined by a new face on the commentary desk. It is Mr. Mike Yao, who is the Operations Director of AK UK. Mike, welcome to the commentary box, and tell us a little bit about who you are, what AK UK do, and what happens back of house to make these wonderful shows happen.
Yep, a bit peculiar. I'm not used to being in front of the camera. So essentially we produce most of the shows with AK UK and all the esports stuff, predominantly motorsport. So the SRO program and various others. Production-wise, we put all the gameplay together, being able to spectate and essentially show you what goes on the big screen and out sort of to the broadcast itself. And then, yeah, it's not just me though. There's quite a
well, that's what I wanted to ask you, because obviously we're not going to give our secrets away and say exactly how many people are working here, but on average, a production of this scale, how many people back of house are involved in making these shows happen?
So it varies. So depending on if we're on site or online as well, because we cover all of the ranges, it can range from 3 up to 20, depending on what we need to achieve, the camera shots we need to get, and also what camera kit we have to bring on site as well, along with all the machines, all the lighting, headsets like this, and yeah. It's a bit different and something that we do regularly, actually, more than we actually think, the amount of travelling we do.
But it's not dissimilar to real racing in that you've got the cameras around the circuit in a real-life motorsport, then the director will see that, choose which one to look at. But we've got the added aspect, because it's a virtual space, we can have the onboard cameras of the drivers looking at the driver, and other little tricks and tips. And for you, just give our audience an idea. We know this thing off the back of our hand, but just what kind of feeds are you getting in, and what do you do with those to present it to the world? Yeah,
so just like the real world, we would get onboard feeds, and essentially our onboard feeds would be the driver cam directly ahead with the wheel, and also over the shoulder as well. So with the free roaming camera, which would essentially be the pit lane camera, we're getting those direct shots of drivers' emotions, delivering on frustration as well, I guess, and also sweating, I guess, as well, would be the other one, especially because it's quite warm in here, but also the physical nature of actually sitting in a sim rig as well. It's not too dissimilar to a car, but without the G-forces, of course.
And we've got a big advantage in the sim racing world over real-life motorsport in that your imagination is the limit as to where you want to put the camera, isn't it?
Definitely. So we have come up with some different shots, but to be fair, some of the shots have been taken and actually copied in the real world, so they're mounting cameras in more peculiar angles that you're not used to when you're watching real world racing as well. So it's things that we've done virtually have been carried over into the real world, and it's actually quite cool to see. So we speak to other producers and other companies just to understand sort of the level that they've had to go to because of the virtual world as well.
And it's obviously a massive privilege for our drivers and for ourselves as commentators, and for you guys back of house to be representing Lamborghini in a championship that is so prominent and important for the brand as this, isn't it?
Yeah, so the prestige of being able to represent Lamborghini and others as well is quite cool. I mean, no one really knows our face in the background. We're just people that push different buttons all the time, as it were.
There's a reason for that.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Paul. Love you too. And basically, it's great to see. So the unsung heroes are in the back. So I could say one person definitely, Steve, is in the back there, and he's been with us sort of the beginning, putting everything together. And it doesn't sort of end there with production. We've got the sim rigs that we do help and all put everything together, and it's a challenge. I mean, like it's a nice operation, basically.
And I think we had a little bit of banter there, which kind of segues me into my last question that I'm going to ask you, because qualifying is just down the road. The other thing is, because we're such a tight-knit team, we've worked together many, many times, not just on Lamborghini, and a lot of the team have done the same. It is a really family atmosphere, isn't it? Because you're working in, literally, in your case, at the back of the studio, in a tight, confined space, side by side, travelling the world together, you get a real bond as a unit, don't you? And become almost telepathic, like you and Steve, telepathic with each other as to what each other wants and needs.
Yeah, definitely. Me and Steve don't actually talk that much when we're actually working. It's peculiar, but when we're off-site, it's a different thing. But you do, it's second nature. You sort of know where everyone is going in. Apologies, I'm not used to this. I'm talking about you. I apologise now for the amount of talking I do in your ear.
Beautiful, you heard it here, folks.
but it's definitely, the nice thing is that when we end the day, when we finish a shift, as it were, we'll all go out to dinner together.
Yeah.
We'll all go back to the house, the hotels, and we'd sit there and not really talk about work. It's just enjoy the sort of the family-oriented environment.
And it is, and that's exactly what AK Esports are all about. We produce great work, we work hard, we produce great events, but it's a family atmosphere and we work together, and that's probably the best place one could wish to work, isn't it? Something
Definitely.
like that.
I appreciate you interviewing me. I'm not used to this.
Yeah, it's nice. It's the first time I've interviewed you on camera as well. So there you go then. That's Mike Yao, who is the Ops Director for AK UK. Mike, so much for your time. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. But you've got some work to do, because I think, looking on screen,
I just
qualifying's
saw
on.
something happen. So there you go.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mike. There we go. So that is Mike Yao. Chaz, I'm going to bring you back in, if I can, as Mike quickly exits stage right. And qualifying, sir, is on. And it's a brand new track, and it's sunshiny.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul. It is indeed, yeah. We've actually got clear skies in the south of France for Paul Ricard. It must have been because you share the same forename, mate. That's what it is. It's all it comes down to.
Called Richard as well, which I always enjoy.
Yeah.
Paul Richard, near enough.
I did not know that. Well, like, is he 9'7" like you as well?
Yeah, exactly. The poor swine. He's also no clothes fit us. Although it's getting better nowadays, but no clothes. This is an extra large, believe it or not, and it only just fits.
Oh, I know. Well, to be fair, I got these a few years ago, and it's getting a bit snug now. Anyway, qualifying underway, and the drivers now have to switch to a completely different kettle of fish, don't they? This circuit is miles apart from how we saw Donington Park. You know, Donington, a really high-speed flowing circuit that's very, very smooth in places, whereas Paul Ricard, it's a little bit more jolty, isn't it? It's a bit more start-stop with some heavy braking zones. There are flowing sections here as well, but not quite in the same way. You know, if you compare the Crane of Curves to the final section here at Paul Ricard, they are still very, very different. Paul Ricard is, with all love behind me when I say this, it's a very well-painted car park at sometimes, isn't it, really? With a lot of colourful stripes around it. But it's a massive, massive challenge to hot lap and get a decent lap together here without overdoing it in terms of track limits.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's this corner in particular that we're going around. We're saying about the blandness of some of the turns, but then you've got Senior into Bousset, two of the most difficult corners anywhere on any racetrack in Europe whatsoever. And in these, I mean, we've spoken, Chaz, about this many times actually in the qualification races, but this is not a GT3 car, this is a Super Trofeo car. So it's got oodles of power, but not as much downforce, and requires a bit more handling, a bit more aggression, a bit more work from the driver. Through those kind of corners, Senior in particular, in a GT3 is relatively easy. Here, you have to hang on, don't you?
Ooh, is definitely the noise for it, yeah. That's certainly the noise that a lot of drivers will make when they get around there, I'm sure. Maybe with a few more expletives thrown in, but yeah, it really is a commitment corner. Absolutely. The whole field is actually quite close together on the circuit. Car number 2, Luca Losio, just crossing the line now and going fastest, is the first one to cross the line. And to be fair, car 13 at the back of the pack, Bonsignore, he is actually just coming through the last corner now, so everybody right together. Interestingly enough, Tasker has gone into the pit lane in car number 8, so Thomas, again, sharing the same experience that he had at Donington Park and just going into the pit lane. Not sure if he's actually just resetting the car, maybe changing something to do with the setup. I'm not quite sure how much freedom they have with the setup during this finale like this, but we often see that they do change some of the car settings. They obviously want to mess about with the view settings as well and work with the hardware, the wheel and pedals that they're working with. So there is a lot of tweaking that needs to be done. And when you go from one circuit to the next, because the sims are so realistic, you have to consider that as well, don't you? The car has to be set up for how this circuit needs you to behave.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can confirm, having looked over my shoulder, that Thomas Tasker was indeed in pit lane, making a few changes, but he's back on and running again now, which is great stuff. So he's back out on the racetrack then. We've got 10 minutes on the clock, so 5 minutes of qualification is already in the books. And look at Luca Losio, picking up where he left off. Fastest time. And that is deliberate, Chaz. He's made sure that he's got out of pit lane as early as he possibly can, for the simple reason he wants that name at the top of the board at the beginning as another mental stimulant for the other drivers to say, hey, 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 I'm the man to beat.
Yeah, definitely. You have to be really, really ahead when it comes to the mental advantage in these things, because all of these drivers come here with absolute mountains of confidence behind them because they are all so quick and so talented. You could see there Marco Lomi, who again, very, very talented driver, comes here in car number 1 as another driver with a target on his back. He was really close to the track limits markers there. They don't really have big bollards here at Paul Ricard. They have these sort of small little flat pieces that you can sort of knock down. They're like those targets that you'd see in a like a fairground or something that you shoot with the little pellet gun, where you have to knock them down and then they all come magically back up again. That's sort of what they're like here. However, there's no desire to actually hit them and knock them down, because what it'll do is invalidate your lap time. We can actually see the sort of driver's UI here on our screen right now, which is interesting. So you get the speedometer in the bottom right with the revs as well, but you can also see the lap times in the top left of the screen. You can see he's just about, well, he was 400ths of a second up there with that little green marker. It's flickering between green and red because they are so consistent that he's almost on the exact same lap time. But what that meant was that when it didn't go red earlier when he hit those markers, it meant it was still a valid lap for Marco Lomi. He wasn't quicker than his personal best. He's now down in third behind Romagnoli, but still, it showed just what limits you can push it to around parts of the track like that.
And it is one of those circuits, isn't it, the circuit Paul Ricard, where you've got to be a little bit aggressive on the curbs. You've got to really maximise the full width of the racetrack at all times to really pull the lap time out of these cars. So you're always flirting, aren't you, with the danger of invalidating your lap. And it's one of the risks, one of the calculated risks that our drivers have got to take. Right on board here with Max Florenz down the longest straight in pretty much anywhere in the world apart from Le Mans. The French do like their long straights, don't they, here at Paul Ricard, and then into the corner that we mentioned a little bit earlier on, where you've got to absolutely use the racetrack. That's what we're talking about. It is such a risky place to go racing in Assetto Corsa Competizione because, as I say, you're flirting with those track limit penalties almost all the time. And in a race condition, it's only 30 minutes, but we could potentially see some drivers falling foul of that one, couldn't it, come race time?
Yeah, definitely. It's a circuit where you can really lose out if you just get one tiny moment of it wrong. It's quite flowing from one corner to the next. We look here at the last couple of corners on the lap, and you have to really tuck it in at certain sections to open up the next corner. That final corner is hellish in most cars, to be fair. And when it's not playing ball and it's not behaving itself, it really exaggerates how that feels, and you do get a massive understeer there. You can see Max Florenz straight over to the left-hand side, stops the car, gets out straight away into the pits, and he wants to get the car reset for the final 7 minutes of the session to make sure that it's at its best. And this is the thing, these tyres can go off a lot quicker now that they're in dry conditions compared to the wet conditions we were in at Donington. So the drivers have to have the best tyres they can at all times. As Seminara, you can see that he's definitely overdone it there. He looks tiny down in that seat there from that camera angle. He's really clinging on to that wheel in a very interesting fashion as well, because usually you see drivers really tuck their hands in behind it, and they'll only sort of bring their fingers out onto the flappy paddles when they really need to change up and down the gears. He's got every paddle and every part of the back of that wheel covered there with a different finger, so it's almost like he's only half holding onto the thing. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and that's again, we spoke about this with Mike just as we came back from the break. It's wonderful to have these onboard cameras, isn't it? These webcams that look down on the drivers, so we can see the different nuances of how people go about their racing, how, as you say, how they carry themselves in the car, how they hold the wheel. When we was riding on board a few moments ago with one of the drivers, you could see them leaning into the corners as well and just getting really involved in what's happening around them. And I love to see that, and that's one of the big advantages of sim racing over the real world stuff. Is we haven't got a helmet and fireproof balaclava and hands device and all that good stuff. You can see everything, and I really like that one. I find it fascinating.
Yeah, and another great thing about it as well, I mean, I'm making a bit of a case here for online events where not everybody's in the same location like they are with these excellent LAN events that we put on. But when you see everybody in their own situ at home, you know, in their own clothes and in their own room, whether they've got a spare room in the house, whether it's in their own bedroom, everybody's in a different place, but still with different hardware and so on, but still able to race together, which is just a beautiful thing, really. But again, I always make a case for the LAN events because it's great to have everybody together in person. We had it recently at the Motorsport Games, and you know, having everyone in the same room, just again, I say you can't put it into words. You know, it's just brilliant to be in the same room as these people, to meet everybody face to face, to be able to go up to one another and shake hands after a race. And from a commentator's perspective as well, you've had this, I'm sure, Paul, when we've both done real world commentary. You can be at a race commentating as if, you know, using the same methods you were at home, but when the race is over, you can put your headset down and you can go outside and then speak to the drivers yourself, get the word from the horse's mouth, and you can do that at a LAN event like this as well, even though it's the sim. It's just brilliant to be able to do that. Yeah,
it's so important to be in the heart of everything, I think, to understand the stories and the emotions that are going through things, how drivers are preparing, the confidence. And for me, I am 100% dyed in the wool. On-site events are absolutely where it's at. It makes our job easier, hopefully, in in quotation marks. We can do a better job because of it, and it's really good. And funnily enough, I was speaking to a member of the public a little bit earlier on today who came up to just ask what this is all about, what's this arena and what are these people doing, and she was a lady that lives in Spain. Funnily enough, actually, she comes from the same village I do. What's the odds of that? But she was saying, I know, really spooky, but she was saying, like, what is this? What is it all about? And I said exactly that. Some of these drivers have raced each other for years and never met each other, and it just blew her away because she doesn't know about this space and how fantastic it is. It doesn't matter where you are in the world or socio-economic background or your gender or anything like that one. We all come together for the same thing, and then we come on site and we're all almost like we've been friends for years because we all have the same passion, the same love and the same determination to do well for ourselves and also to represent the sport in the best light possible. And I think it really is beautiful to see, and big congrats to Lamborghini for putting on this competition alongside AK Esports and giving us this opportunity to bring these talents together under one roof.
Yeah, definitely, and at the same time, you know, I mean, you can work with people for ages, whether we only speak on Discord or TeamSpeak, however you want to do it. The way you speak online, you know, you get to know each other well enough because you're in each other's company just digitally. That, you know, you already sort of form the sort of behaviours and so on, that it doesn't make anything awkward when you do meet either. That's the really strange thing, is that, again, I mentioned in the motorsport games that we met a bunch of people there that we'd both commentated on for so long, but it didn't feel awkward or strange meeting them for the first time. You know, it was like just meeting an old friend, and just you've now got this sort of physical representation of them where you can shake their hand instead of just popping on and hearing the little beding when you join Discord and saying hello. It's so cool. And these drivers, like I said before, they can race each other here, but they're also, in most cases, just arm's reach away from one another. Yeah. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing or not is down to how they conduct themselves. But there will be points in an event like this. Now, I'm not sure if you can actually confirm this for me, Paul, because, I mean, you're there on site. But the car numbers, do they represent what rig number they're in as well?
That is absolutely correct. They do indeed, which makes life a lot easier for looking at people.
I bet, yeah. But also with the fact that now, when we have two numbers that are consecutive to each other, like Locio and Lomi on the front row of the grid, rigs 1 and 2, we know that those two are sat right next to each other, literally feet from one another. And they will be able to take a glance over, maybe even at each other's screens. You know, like, I mean, we've both got siblings, like your siblings would have done in the old split screen days of gaming, you know, looking at your screen to figure out where you are and doing a bit of cheating. It's not quite like that in a competition like this, but you can use that for information, can't you? Try and sort of gain a bit of advantage.
Absolutely, and you can also, the way that your body language, if you project confidence, don't show frustration, look, it's all easy, it's casual, I'm quickest, I'm one-handed on the wheel down the straight, that gets in the head of your rivals as well. We're looking at David Kolachai, excuse me, at this moment in time, just speaking to David on the break before we came back on air. This is the biggest esports race he has ever done. Completely stoked to be here representing Lamborghini at Jerez, and that the opportunity to race in front of this crowd, this audience and this brand for drivers such as David Kolachai, we know is incredibly quick, but we've seen him in the flesh for the first time. Absolutely wonderful, and that's a big pressure that you're going to carry with you as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's just something that some of these guys, they completely take in their stride, and I really don't know how they do that. You know, I take part in a very light and friendly league race on the sim, and I'm absolutely falling apart as soon as it's going well, you know, shaking behind the wheel, really nervous about what's going on. These guys are against some of their fellow competitors that are some of the very best in the world, trying to win a seat at the Lamborghini Quadricorsa esports team. It doesn't get much high pressure than that, much more high pressure, especially when you are doing that surrounded by the people that you're up against, which isn't something you usually have to do in sim racing. It's incredible. At the moment, there is less than a tenth of a second between the top three cars. Luca Lozio, Marco Lomi and Max Florenz. Those three are currently in the 52s as well, and everybody else in the 153s and above. But there's a couple of cars there separated by only 10,000ths of a second, and that is the number 14 machine of Ho Chung Chan, and then Tishkevich and Zampedri. 0.347, 0.350 and 0.357 apart from the current pole position times. We're on board with Roman Yodi right now, Paul, and looking in the top left of the screen, well, he's up on his best.
Yeah, this is a really sideways bit of action there. I thought he was going to hemorrhage some time, but I think he got away with that one. He has lost time, but he's still up on his quickest time. Remember, Romagnoli finished in 3rd position in race 1, so he needs a big score. His main rivals are all around him. He's a tenth up, nearly 2 tenths up. What's monstering the final corner? Will he lose that on acceleration? He does a bit, but he will improve his time. 4th position for now. Can Romagnoli do anything? No, but he can put 4 cars, Chaz, less than a tenth apart at the front of the field, and Romagnoli and Florenz the exact same lap time. Get close to that one if you try.
Absolutely incredible, that, isn't it? Absolutely incredible. And around a lap as long as this as well, that's even less likely. It's 1 minute 52.977 to be in the same thousandth of a second. Just shows you how close this competition is, doesn't it? That's exactly what this is all about here at the Real Race Lamborghini Super Trofeo Esports. And to be honest with you, I expect it to be the same in the race. The slipstream down that back straight, even down the main straight as well, is going to keep these drivers closer together. Donington Park is good for slipstream, but nothing on Paul Ricard. This is going to be a mighty, mighty close and level place. I'm just, well, super intrigued to see who takes it easy in the opening stages and then who pushes in the opening stages, because we've seen in this entire field of drivers, we've seen a bit of both, haven't we, from everybody in this competition so far. And
let's remember, this is a two-round championship final, so this is the last time these drivers are going to be here in the Lamborghini Arena, the last chance they've got to score points. So if you're one of those drivers that's kind of floating in and around the bubble of maybe being able to get an overall championship victory, you've got to get the elbows out. You've got to go for it, Chaz. There's absolutely no second chances at this point.
No, absolutely not. I mean, Luca Lozio, we just saw there. Pole position again for him. He's got 16 points on the board, and Zampedri is the driver with 12 points, and he's down in 8th position in this qualifying session. So he's certainly not bounced back with the same sort of performance that he would have expected after race 1. And now it's time for Marco Lomi to get a little bit of redemption there, isn't it? Because he had a spin late on in that Donington Park race, and he'll want to prove that that was just a flash in the pan and no reflection of his talent behind the wheel.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a big opportunity for Marco Lomi. He'll be starting off in 2nd position, sharing the front row with our pole man, Luca Lozio, in car number 2. Row number 2, position number 3, goes the way of Max Florenz. Max, again, one of those drivers at the sharp end of the grid in race 1. He'll be hoping for another good day at the races. Michael Romagnoli, a little bit of work to do from 4th. He finished 3rd in race 1. He's got to charge if he wants to do anything about our pole sitter. Then Matejas Tiskovic in 5th place, just ahead of Luca Magnani, car number 12, position number 6. 7th place, Ho Chung Chan. Again, massively impressive performance from the Chinese driver. Really strong qualifier. Mattia Zampedri will be alongside him. 7th and 8th positions, respectively. David Kolachai will be starting from 9th. Janis Reinders is the driver. They'll be keeping him company in the 5th row of the grid. Simone Seminara has Stefano Bonsignore for company in 11th and 12th. Luca Pisoni will start in 13th. And Thomas Tasker, he'll be hoping for a whole load more fortune, speed and luck coming into this race, having had a DNF at Donington Park. So big opportunity for Thomas to charge through the order and show us what he's made of.
Yeah, definitely. And I think some of the drivers will really enjoy the fact that they start a bit further down, because they have that prospect of making positions. I think we've seen it before as well, where I can't remember who it was. We interviewed somebody a while ago in this competition, I think it was last season, where they said that they were quite excited at having a qualifying session that didn't go their way because they knew they could go forward. And I don't know how on earth someone can come forward with that confidence at this level, but they still manage it. And these drivers still surprise us, and that's what we love, because there will be standout performers here. And you can see in the sim it is 8:02 p.m. The shadows are getting longer, and that sunshine is getting more and more golden. So it's really going to be quite the atmospheric end to this one, Paul, and it's going to give us... I mean, we've both watched series that end in sort of sunset and nighttime races, haven't we? It just sort of, I don't know, it implies a little bit more to the end of a campaign, the end of a championship. I think that's very fitting for them to have it in these conditions here at Paul Ricard.
Yeah, I thoroughly agree with you on that one. It is a beautiful visual and audible sight here in ACC. These Lamborghini Super Trofeo, Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2 cars are stunning. There's over 500 of them here at the Jerez circuit. It's, of course, the Lamborghini World Finals this weekend, and we're right in the heart of the paddock. The real drivers have been dropping in to have a little look. Our drivers have been going out and taking in some of the racing action on track here as well at Jerez, and it's a beautiful atmosphere. It's a great opportunity to go racing, and I think the next 30 minutes, Chaz, somebody is going to be delighted at the end of that 30 minutes, and another 13 people are going to be absolutely despondent, because this is a big opportunity, and it happens now.
Absolutely. This is, I mean, we've said before in the competition, this is the pinch point and this is crunch time, but it doesn't get much more pinch point and crunch time than this, does it really? This is the final race in the Real Race Lamborghini Super Trofeo Esports competition for 2024, the EU final, and the driver that comes away from this will be a driver for the Lamborghini Quadricorsa Esports team. And it's one of the biggest prizes in sim racing, and all of these guys will all be confident to go into this with a chance at it. The only thing is that the man right there, Luca Lozio, he's the only one with 16 points and a race win under his belt at this stage, and he just needs to keep it tidy, look after the car, and he will come away with that prize. But are we going to see him settle for second? Is Marco Lomi playing games here on the formation lap because they don't have to stay in order? I think so. What do you reckon, Paul?
For me, if you're going to win it, you want to win it with the victory. And I think that's going to be the only thing that Luca's got in his mind coming into this race. He knows he's got the pace. He knows he's got the safety net of having a victory last time around. So there's absolutely nothing stopping him just performing exactly as he knows he can, exactly as the practice has been, exactly as his testing at home has been. Just get in there, deliver the lap times, and the race will sort itself out. Marco Lomi, he's got to do everything and a little bit more. He's going to be an outsider in the absolute extreme, having had that effectively 0 score in race 1. And Max Lorenz, he starts in 3rd, finished 4th last time out. He's still in the conversation, but he's going to need results to go his way a little bit, I think it is, when it comes to our pole position sitter.
Yeah, definitely. It's got to be a very mental game here right now. They have to really, really dial themselves in and not let any little distractions. There you go, I can't even say the thing. Distractions phase you at this point of the competition. You and I have both seen it before, Paul. Nobody is immune from mistakes. How many times in our time just watching motorsport, or even before commentating, have we seen race leaders spin all on their own, completely unforced? It's incredible to see just how often it does happen to the race leader, but we often call them the guinea pig, don't we, at the front of the field, that is going to get to every single apex first, and that's the first car to sort of figure out what the grip levels are like at that particular moment on the track. It's definitely not a desirable place to be in certain races. I mean, for this first lap, you don't want to be at the front because of the slipstream, but other times it's just a case of keeping it all about looking forward rather than looking in your mirrors.
Absolutely, and let's remember the last time Luca Lozio and Marco Lomi raced each other in a Lamborghini, that was at Imola for round 1, back at the start of the season, the qualifying races, and Marco Lomi was the one that was bested on that occasion by Luca Lozio. So not only is he coming into this one as a previous race winner, he's also got that advantage as well. But now, the formation lap has come to its conclusion, and we're about to get very loud and very excited indeed, as we are almost going to take the green flag for the second and final race of the Real Race Super Trofeo Esports EU Regional Final. And there we go, it goes green, it goes loud, and at the front of the field, Luca Lozio from Marco Lomi. But look behind, 4 cars wide for the run down into T1. 4 cars will not fit into that corner. Will everybody make it through? We're all looking for a bit of real estate. Everybody's trying to get their advantage, and by some kind of miracle, everybody's made it through. Lozio at the front of the field, a couple of drivers running wide, and in fact, I do think somebody was facing the wrong direction, but up front it is Lozio from Lomi with Florenz in 3rd.
Yeah, Simone Seminara was the car that was facing the wrong way there, Paul. I think all of that checkup was caused by the dark blue machine that went down the inside. That was Ho Chung Chan, car number 14, made it 4 wide on the left-hand side of the circuit, and then everybody else tried to get away from it. I think it was Magnani in the middle as well that was trying to avoid any contact. He got away with it and remains in 5th position. But yeah, unfortunately for Seminara, he was facing the wrong way. Tasca nearly ended up involved in that as well. Pisoni and Tiskovic, the next cars ahead of them. But a great start by Luca Lozio, leads the way. Marco Lomi in 2nd, and then Florenz. And here is the side-by-side action at the front, though. And I said it, just as it changed, Marco Lomi takes the front spot in this race. Is he going to run wide of those markers? No, he's not. But Luca Lozio, well, he doesn't really want to sit there behind him for this time. And look at that down the inside there. That is brave on the brakes Great modulation of the brakes and the throttle there to get the car rotated, but it's side by side for the lead, Paul, not giving each other an inch.
That is absolutely beautiful stuff. We've done this dance before at Paul Ricard, haven't we? The changing of places, the shuffling around in the early stages, but as you say, the number 2 plated car, the winner from last time around, Luca Lozio, is not going to be holding on for too long in second position and immediately retakes that race lead. All that means is he's going to be exactly as vulnerable as he was last time around on the next lap. And doesn't Marco Lomi know it? Max Florenz, good start for him in a 3rd position, and then that is Chan in 4th. So Chan's had despite going 4 wide into T1, has had quite the benefit on this opening lap. Great performance from him. Magnani just behind. Romagnoli having a little look out of the slipstream in a T1, but for Michael Romagnoli, for the Italian driver, absolutely not the first lap that he would have wanted down there in 6th.
No, definitely not. He's really fallen by the wayside, hasn't he? 10 points on the board before now. Finishing in 6th position will give him 5. And let's not forget, he gets 16 for just winning 1 race. Luca Lozio already has 16 points. And now he wants to make sure that Lomi does not take that lead back off him again. As you said, Paul, you want to win something like this with a race victory. You want to wrap it out in the best way possible. Lomi with the fastest lap of the race the first time round, of course. Let's see what they do now in the second phase of slipstreaming here. Romagnoli right behind Magnani in car number 12. He's much higher up the order than he was at Donington Park. You see the slipstream working away there, but not too much, because let's not forget Magnani's got a bit of slipstream of his own. And, well, he's actually backing out of that one there. He says, no, you know what, I'm not fighting that one that hard. Romagnoli down the inside. And that's good self-preservation, that, isn't it, by Magnani? Deciding to back out there and not get himself into an unnecessary scrap.
Yeah, very clever driver, and that's exactly what you need to do in those scenarios. No point fighting the inevitable when it comes to the slipstream here at Paul Ricard. It's always going to be a pinch point for the drivers. It's always going to be a big ask for the car that's bursted their hole through the air to hold on to that position. Matteo Sampedri will wing our way back to him in 7th position. So while Romagnoli was having that little fight with Magnani, that has really brought number 9 into the equation. Sampedri keeping a watching brief in 7th position. He's only a couple of lengths behind the back of Magnani, and now the pressure is getting applied. It has to be applied. Bonsignori, Kolocai, Reinders, Tiskovic and Persone are all climbing over the back of him as well. This is a real train, a real fight that we've got here. Again, lower reaches of the top 10, but it's still going to make points, and the higher you can finish up, the more points you get, the better your championship standing. You might not win it, but it still looks better on the CV to be 5th overall than it does 6th, for example.
Yeah, definitely. At the end of the day, it's a bit of a consolation, isn't it? After the event is over, you've got to look at how you performed in it, and we've said it many a time that the results sheet doesn't always tell you the full story, but drivers need to remember that, and they'll obviously be looking at the end result rather than the full story of the race in most cases. So yeah, it's definitely a bit of a CV for them, as we say. Top 4 still relatively close together. Romagnoli's got away from that battle behind him. Magnani running very wide. I wonder if he'll get any sort of penalisation from the sim for that. I know he'll definitely get a track limits warning, but not sure you get a sort of slow down penalty or anything, do you? You don't have to give time back for anything like that. So Zampedri is not going to get any free overtake done here. He's having to go one way then the other. Now Magnani chooses to defend this one, because I think maybe he let Romagnoli through before, thinking he wants to push forward and catch Ho Chung Chan. And now he's seen, well, I mean, wow, he's nearly ended up back at Donington Park then. He ran that wide there, did Magnani. Manages to get it back onto the racing line, but you can see the pressure from the cars behind is certainly unsettling him a little bit. Doesn't look like it in his facial expression, but he's really having to wrestle this car.
Yeah, that car is not looking comfortable at this moment in time. The body language is suggesting that Lorenzo Magnani is in a little bit of strife at this moment in time. And Matteo Sampedri, like a shark, can smell blood in the water at this moment in time. He knows there's an opportunity to find a way past the number 12, and he wants to do that one so he can get off at the road and after Michael Romagnoli. That's car number 4, David Kolocai, the Hungarian driver, almost collecting the back of the train as well. A little bit of avoidance there from Kolocai, and he's now under a little bit of pressure from Tiskovic. I must admit I expected more from Mateusz Tiskovic in this final race. We know he's lightning fast, but he's currently mired down there in 10th position with Janos Reinders for company as well, having a bit of a look and a think about the rear of the number 7 machine. But that is Kolocai still charging, trying to find a little bit of slipstream. It's not being particularly powerful here at Paul Ricard like we do see in some other series. It's not quite as effective as perhaps it can be, although what is effective is a dive down the inside. Tiskovic, he's heard my commentary and said, I'll show you, not getting the elbows out. And there it goes, beautiful stuff. And Kolochai, if anything, is going to miss out on 2 positions, and yes, he does. Janus Reinders makes his way past.
It's a scary moment. That one, I can tell you, one of the things that I could never master in a Assetto Corsa Competizione is the fact that the car can break away over a curb like that, and it's so easy for it to snap back in the other direction. It's something that they are really brutal with on Assetto Corsa Competizione. And to be fair, Kolochai did a great job there to keep that car facing in the right direction. Janus Reinders has gone through as well. Kolochai going hot into the right hand and nearly hits the back of his fellow Lamborghini driver. And right now, he's got to just get his head back in the game, tuck in slightly once again. And we've got a bit of a recurring theme with the drivers here, Paul, and it's that, you know, they're that focused when they're behind the wheel. They almost go robotic, don't they? They go completely stone-faced. We've mentioned it before when it comes to race winners, as Reinders is around. After all the work that he did to get through, Reinders is around, not quite facing the wrong way. It was only 90 degrees, but still he's dropped back out of the points.
Yeah, that's a real shame for Janus Reinders. It does move Kolochai back up into the points in 10th position again. But even though it's dry, we said it at Donington, it's obvious. It's wet, it's slippy, it's greasy. You can pirouette quite quickly. But even in dry conditions, this is a very challenging car to drive. You've got to monster the curbs to be quick. And one small miscalculation can have a very big consequence indeed. Reinders, though, is still on the track. Is in 13th position, just ahead of Thomas Tasker. Lorenzo Magnani that we're looking at now in 6th position, still has Zampedri for company. But while these two squabble, Michael Romagnoli, who, let's not forget, only a couple of laps ago made his way past, he's giving them a clean pair of heels in his pursuit of Chad, up in 4th position. So Romagnoli, good recovery drive from him. Magnani, can he soak up that pressure? And Zampedri, can he make his car a little bit thinner somehow so he can sneak into the scant opportunities that have presented themselves to him?
I was going to say, we've heard about people making their car wider when they're defending, but wow, it was very close there for Zampedri to definitely squeeze that Lamborghini down the inside. It may have a very low slung nose on this thing, but it's still a very wide, beefy, stanced car. Lovely looking bit of kit, this Huracan. We head to a replay very quickly. This is Reinders going around just as he gets on the brakes there, Paul. We've often seen it in mid-engined cars that with all the weight over the back end, they can spin very easily when you get on the brakes, especially when it comes down to just locking up the rear axle that slight bit with some downshifts through the gears. Well, that just looked like a bit of a lazy spin there, didn't it? And Reinders, unfortunately, couldn't do anything to stop it.
Absolutely, as a driver, that is absolutely infuriating, because you know it's going to go as soon as it starts, and you know there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. So Janus Reinders, the smallest miscalculation, really big consequences. He's well outside the points paying places now, and I do think that any opportunity to improve on his race 1 9th position result is well and truly out of the window. This is Zampedri having a little look through the final corner. They trade a little bit of paint. If you could knock wing mirrors off in this sim, and I dare say those cars would both be missing a wing mirror. Zampedri has the outside line for the run down into T1. Tucking up is Bonsignori in the slipstream. Bonsignori doesn't know which way to go. Zampedri doesn't have the overlap, so he drops back in again, and now Stefano Bonsignori is very much in that conversation as well. Magnani holds on for now.
Yeah, only just for now, and he's really having to work hard to try and keep these guys behind here. He's certainly the cork in the bottle at this point, but that's no disrespect meant at all. His pace is absolutely electric and still faster than 90% of people that you put in the sim, but at this moment the guys behind him are certainly on a higher level of pace around this circuit, especially in these conditions, gorgeous conditions as well. I've always said that every shot and every frame in Assetto Corsa Competizione, it's like something out of a film, isn't it? It's just beautiful to look at all of the time. It really does take racing to the movies. But these Lamborghinis all in a big old queue now, and the drivers behind are going to be... Look at that, he's even got the confidence to just give us a quick gesture to the left there. I love that. And that's another thing that you get with these LAN events that are great fun, is that when they know they're being filmed, they can, you know, show a bit of their character, a bit of charisma. It's brilliant to see that from Magnani.
It's impressive, because when I know a camera's on me and I'm racing, I just fall to pieces almost instantaneously. But great stuff, and that's why they're doing this. And I'm talking about it as we look now again at Lorenzo Magnani, still trying desperately to cling on to that 6th position. This is gold for the top 5, because Magnani, as you say, is the cork in the bottle. That's giving the top 5 the breathing room to race amongst themselves without threat of attack from behind. And I do feel that maybe the number 9 of Mattia Zampedri getting a little bit impatient now, starting to move the car around the racetrack a little bit more, looking for space where perhaps there isn't space to be found. And Zampedri does need to wind that in a little bit, I think, and be a bit more strategic about his attack. Otherwise, Stefano Bonsignori behind will very firmly be in that conversation. And to be fair, Dejan Stiskovic as well is close as you can be.
Yeah, definitely. There's opportunities everywhere for these drivers. Magnani is certainly trying to find out where the track limits are, isn't he? He's really, really wide for a lot of corners here, and I think he's starting to show that he just can't quite deal with the drivers behind. And look at that. That was great opportunism, that by Zampedri, but he's not going to get the move done because Magnani's going to close the door just behind as well. That is Stiskovic looking back down the inside of Bonsignore in the green and magenta machine. Just gets the overlap, but through the left-hander he's going to have to give the room. And they remain side by side. Lovely camera work by our guys here. They both run a little bit wide. Actually, Bonsignore staying on the circuit, and then Stiskovic going through. But now Bonsignore in the slipstream, and even behind that, David Kolotchai also in the slipstream. Oh, he moves over on him on the straight. There was a little bit naughty, I'd say there, Paul. Nearly contact between the two. Just got away with that time.
Yeah, there's more than the fair share of elbows being thrown around at this moment in time. It seems we come through senior now. We're looking at number 7 of 7th position, Matija Stiskovic, just behind Monsignore, David Kolotchai as well. Recently re-promoted back into the points and keen to make hay while the sun does shine on a virtual Paul Ricard circuit here. Remember, last race of the weekend, whoa, Stiskovic very sideways. Those tyres are starting to give up grip as the car gets lighter, the tyres wear a little bit more, the drivers get a little bit more tired as well. So let's remember, this has been a full day for them, doing various meter activities, training, preparation, and just winding yourself up ready for this kind of competition. And I think some of that pressure is starting to show as Max Lorenz gets a 5-second penalty. So 5 seconds will be coming the way of car number 11 at the checkered flag, and that's for causing a collision on lap 1 between himself and car number 6, which is Simone Seminara, all the way down in 11th.
Wow. Incredible stuff. I didn't realise who it was that actually went into him, and unfortunately for Florenz, it's deemed that he was the one at fault for that. It's a massive shame indeed. Running 3rd at the moment as well. He'd be on for 10 points for this event. That's going to drop him down a fair way. Only 3 positions, I think, maybe 2 positions actually, with Chung Chan and Romagnoli. Look at that for a shot there. You can see behind the wheel. That is absolutely lovely, isn't it, Paul? The behind-the-scenes sort of wheel shot there.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I love these cars. It's such a combination. It's wonderful that we've got them here in ACC for the Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports, and these drivers are doing a sterling job, it has to be said, at this moment in time, to show just what high-speed precision looks like. Yes, we've not been trading paint on every given corner, but this is an absolute masterclass of close racing at high speed. Mattia Zampedri now has a look to the inside, has a think of the inside, elects better of it, but will that be another little run wide for Magnani? The door's almost open. We had to think about it, did Zampedri, and then second time of asking, the door's not been open, it's been kicked open by the Italian driver. It's going to hold on the inside. Here's the number 9. Another little mistake from Magnani, exploring the limits of patience for the track limits, it has to be said. Zampedri runs out of racetrack, gets a little bit of a kiss on the shoulder as well. Matija Stiskovic, not for the first time today, watches the action unfold and then takes advantage. Number 7 to the inside, number 7 up a position.
A little bit of contact between the two of them there as well, and I tell you what, Zampedri's going to feel like he was really elbowed out there. That was very naughty stuff in a way. Not above the rules, but it was very hard racing. That was very hard racing. Bonsignore now right in the thick of it with another car right behind him, and it's David Kolotchai now who is in that number 4 neon green machine with the very blue highlights all over it as well. Very striking liveries in this championship that makes Paul and I's job easier, because we can definitely tell them apart once we get to learn the colours, that is. Let's not forget that while we do love these liveries, they are different for almost every race that we look at, so we get to know the numbers associated with the cars, but it's not that easy. Right now though, Magnani is still using the track and more to try and keep these guys behind, and Tiskovic is the latest one to try and have a go at him here, Paul. I think he might get this done in the slipstream here, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the good tactic to do on this one, based on the form of Magnani over the course of the last few laps, you show the nose, then slot back in again and wait till the car ahead runs wide. There is the battle in question. This is Matejas Tiskovic. Looks to the inside, not normally where you want to be. We have seen it successful. Look further back as well, and David Kolachai is using the runoff and everything. 3 wide in the background, 2 wide in the foreground. Who's going to make it through? Everybody almost as one through senior, and there is Tiskovic up into 6th position. Magnani loses not one spot, almost a second one as well. Zampedri to the inside. Zampedri now alongside Magnani, just behind us. There we go. That is Zampedri in the silver and red car. And the inside is the red machine, and I think Magnani has just about got the high ground, Chaz, but Zampedri absolutely is going to send it through these next few corners.
Yeah, we saw that him trying to set that same move up just over a lap ago. If you just release the brakes a little bit into that long first part of that section, you can get the nose down the inside, be on the outside for the next corner, and then that gives you the run on the exit because it forces the other car to give you the space. And he's actually done a great job at sticking with it here, but all that time Magnani stays in front. We saw him defending well at Donington Park, using slightly compromised lines to get the run, and well, it's amazing, to be honest, that he's managed to keep these guys behind, but it's clear that his pace isn't quite there with the other guys, his confidence isn't quite there, but the defensive manoeuvres that he's been making and where he's been placing the car has been completely exemplary. Great to watch, as now Zampedri's got to think about who's behind him as well. Not quite sure I agree with hand gestures, but still, he's having a good old run of it here, isn't he?
Yeah, it's been a wonderful little battle pack, this one. A bit further down the running order, of course, but they're all squabbling for their own respect, their own points, and their own impression in this race. Let's take another look. This is the number 8, and not for the first time. We see a guy going sideways. That was the tank slapper that you were speaking about, Chaz, although it did get held by Thomas Tasker. And unfortunately for Thomas, it does look like the Italian driver is a DNF again for the second time over the course of this European final. So that's a real shame for Tasker. And hopefully he can take the experience and use it to his benefit further down the road in future events.
Yeah, fingers crossed for him. It's not been an easy day, and he will be absolutely gutted with that. He comes here as one of the very finest in the world in racing these cars, and he will still leave here as one of the very best in the world at this. He's gotten very far through this competition. There's that same move again by Zampedri down the inside in the second phase of the right-hander. Magnani naturally off the circuit, but I think Zampedri influenced that one a little bit more now. Bonsignori wants to go around the outside. Kolachai as well gets on the marbles, loses a bit of grip as a result. Backing out of it there is Magnani. He did the right thing. Zampedri is now through, and he knows that he can go chasing some of the cars in front of them. But what can Magnani do about attacking? Not a lot, unfortunately. Bonsignori now suddenly down the inside of him, then the outside for the final corner. It's all come a little bit unravelled here for Magnani. He's now going to lose another position, and potentially might even drop outside of the top 10 here with Kolachai trying to come through as well. He's then got to think about the cars behind. Seminara in the background is the next one. Actually, to be fair, Kolachai is in 10th. I do apologise.
No,
11th for a minute. Magnani's hit Bonsignore.
Oh, now, unfortunately, there was always a mistake going to be coming from the body language of the car from Magnani, but that was a massive mistake. Stefano Bonsignore was the one that pays the biggest price of those two drivers. That takes him outside of the top 10. So, don't like to see that one. Real shame. Genuine mistake, of course. Nothing malicious there. Just a lot of cars in a short piece of racetrack trying to fight for position. Winding further up the order, though, Ho Ching Chan in 4th position. Car number 14 doing a sterling job as well. Michael Romagnoli, having been chewing away at it for the last few laps, has eventually closed the gap between himself and the number 14, and Chan is going to have to put on a defensive masterclass, as Romagnoli certainly knows how to attack, and immediately the defensive line is applied. But let's take another quick look at this one then. So that is the 13 of Bonsignore, that is Magnani behind, has a little look, more in defence than attack, and then just caught out in the braking zone. Bonsignore a little bit slower than he was anticipating, added to Magnani a little bit faster than would have been ideal, and unfortunately when car meets car, somebody is going to miss out, and that is Bonsignore.
Yeah, it's a real shame actually, because you could see even from Magnani's body language, he did try and just straight line the corner. He tried to get out of that to avoid hitting anybody, but didn't want to go completely off the circuit just in case he could still make the corner. He was in a bit of two minds about it, and then even so, moving over to the right hand side was not enough in the end, I'm afraid. Ho Chung Chan now with the mirrors filled with that red Lamborghini of Romagnoli behind him. He will, don't forget, move up into 3rd place if he stays where he is, because Florenz has that penalty just ahead of them, so he's going to pick up a few more points. And the wild card has been absolutely brilliant here in these finals. He's certainly put in a great show. And right now, with Romagnoli behind, he's not phased whatsoever by the look of the body language, by the look on his face. He's actually gained a bit of time there. I think Romagnoli was a little bit scruffy through that first chicane that time round. So Ho Chung Chan continues now in fourth with a couple of tenths to the car behind. Look at actually the battle for second and third there, Paul, because Marco Lomi has really been reeled in by Max Florenz. We hadn't noticed that one before. I think I'd sort of disregarded Florenz because of his penalty a little bit, but right now, well, he's well in the mix.
Yeah, he's running about like a man that's been stung by a bee and wants to avoid any more of them. Is Max Florenz. 5 seconds is going to be added to his time. So yes, you may be asking yourself, why is he fighting so hard for this second position? It's more about the track positioning. You want to go as far up the road as you possibly can if you're Florenz, try and mitigate that 5 seconds that will be added to your race time at the checkered flag. Easier said than done, especially when the likes of Marco Lomi is the car in front of you. And Marco playing a bit of a dangerous game here, Chaz, isn't he? He'll know that Florenz has got that time penalty. The harder you defend, the more vulnerable you make yourself to a Magnani-style bit of contact that we saw just a lap or so ago. So Marco Lomi racing very much with a heart in his mouth, I think, at this stage. A great second position, a great redemption arc for him following the non-score at Donington Park. But Lomi is definitely flirting a little bit closer to the danger line than I perhaps would like and feel comfortable for if I was that second place driver.
Yeah, absolutely. It's right on the fine edge, isn't it? You've got to be so careful at all points. Just hearing that there's going to be a 5-second penalty applied to car 12. There it is, to Magnani for causing a collision with Bonsignore, and that's understandable. I mean, it was human error at the end of the day, but still, it's affected somebody else's race in a negative way, and that's why the penalty has been given to help justify that. He is back behind Bonsignore. I'm not quite sure if he let him back through after the incident earlier on. Still, the penalty applies. It's good to see Marco Lomi back up at the front end of the order. He had that uncharacteristic spin at Donington Park. I remember the very first race that we did this season, actually, Paul, at Imola, and Lomi was just in a different league, wasn't he? Absolutely drove away from the rest of the pack, and to be fair, he made it look that easy. We were worried that the rest of the rest of the race was going to be quite dull because Lomi just drove off, and we worried whether the rest of the competition, was going to be like that.
Yeah, it was a very good performance, but the qualifying races only get you so far, and that's into this competition. But now it's about the here and now. Marco Lomi is absolutely categorically a little bit of a wipe of sweat from the brow, some might say, there on the defensive. Max Florenz trying so hard in the blue car to find a way past to try and do something about that 5-second gap. It's not happening just yet, but Lomi a little bit wide there, kind of giving a bit of encouragement to number 11 behind. Yes, it wasn't a move, but it did suggest to Florenz that he's got an opportunity, potentially, should he wish to take it. And I do think that Lomi will be aware and not particularly enthusiastic about defending this one too hard. Should Florenz send it? Let's find out now. Looks to the inside. Keep a tight line if you possibly can for Max. Avoid the back of Lomi's car in front. Now you're going to look for a switchback through the final corner. It's all about the launch off of this last turn. I think Lomi has mastered that one wonderfully and mitigated any potential threat from the car behind.
Yeah, it was an interesting tactic, actually. I've seen people do this before where you sort of invite the car behind you for a move and you sort of open the door as if to say, look, here you go, come through. And then you cut them off completely, and it really compromises their run. It's almost like attacking backwards. It's really strange. It's not quite defending, but it's just sort of sending time back their way. And you can see a bit of it there. Look, he didn't defend, and he let Florenz just put himself in a position where he's going to have to back out of it, and he's on a different racing line, so he's got to sort of compromise his own run through the corner. It's really interesting back and forth between these two. And it'll be frustrating for Lomi because he knows that Florenz has got a penalty. So in terms of Florenz's result, it's not going to make a difference if he overtakes him and just sits there ahead. Marco Lomi wants to focus on trying to catch back up with Luca Lozio at the front of this field. And right now, when they're battling like this, he's not got the chance to do that.
Yep, and that's the thing. It's all about the racing action. It's all about being intelligent. Racecraft is such an important aspect, and the ability to read the race and react accordingly is such an important tool in the armoury of a race car driver, be it real or virtual. And that will absolutely be noted by the powers that be here at Lamborghini, I'm sure, as to the way these two are driving and thinking about their prospects long term. But I will say, good defence so far from Marco Lomi. That's 3.2, nearly 3.3 seconds though, to Luca Lozio at the front of the field. Come on, that's a performance from Luca, really stamping his authority on this competition. I dare say that Luca Lozio will be returning to the Lamborghini Esports team if things go the way they're going at this moment in time, because this is going to be 2 commanding victories in a row. Can't ask for better than that one, Chaz, can you? You really can't.
No, definitely not. And I mean, in the finals as well, you know, it's not like this is just one of the semi-finals or one of the qualifiers earlier on in this competition. This is the final, on site as well, added pressure, all the other drivers around you, all the crowd as well, even people like yourself, Paul, you know, watching on, egging him on. It's a big environment for these drivers to deal with, and again, it's part of the great test that Lamborghini put these drivers through. It's part and parcel of what they may have to do as a driver of the esports team. You will have to go to big events like this. You will have to perform in front of other people like this. You know, it's incredible to think that that's the level esports has got to now, but it's a beautiful thing at the same time. And Lamborghini, much like with real drivers in the real world, they go through scholarship programs and tests to become factory drivers for certain teams, and you have media training, media testing as well. This could be considered a media test for these guys, while it is also the qualifying races, because they have to face the public, they have to face their peers and everybody around them. They have to do that in an environment like this. Max Florenz now closes up to the back of Lomi. Lomi knows there's nothing he can do about it other than just put the car in the right place. He's putting it just over a car's width away from the edge of the track, and Florenz thinks, nope, I don't want to go side by side through there, thank you very much. I just want to crack on with my race. Now let's see if he tries this down the inside. Is he going to try and come back off the brakes here and tuck it in for the second part of this corner? No, he is not. And he knows that Lomi is going to be wise to that as well. And I think also, Paul, they've started to check the mirrors here, because they know with just one lap to go here at Paul Ricard, they've got Ho Chung Chan and Romagnoli just behind.
Yeah, this is fantastic. It's turned into a real squad when we come into the final, the dying embers of the 2024, the 5th edition of Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports. And what a way to round out the season with such a great battle. 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th positions, all within the same shot. 1 minute, 27 seconds left on the clock. Marco Lomi is currently the man that occupies that 2nd position. Max Lorenz, irregardless of his 5-second time penalty, has been a picture of professionalism in his efforts to try and liberate that 2nd place away. And then, of course, we have got a very impressive Ho Chung Chan in 4th place, having come in from the Motor Racing wildcard. He's performing wonderfully in 4th, with the possibility of getting onto that podium as Lamborghini watch on. They're quite happy with what they see.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. I mean, they've certainly got a driver here that's really proven themselves. It's not been an under-the-radar performance by any stretch, because the way that he's built up that lead has been so impressive. They know that it's going to be a real deserving drive, this. You know, it's not been decided by contact. It's not been decided by any particular misfortune to other drivers. He's put himself in this situation, and he is driven like a true champion here, has Luca Lozio. And since we saw him at the very start of the competition, we knew he was one to not be messed with. And right now, he is proving to these guys why he should be a full-time driver of the Automobili Lamborghini Esports team. I apologise for him mistakenly calling it Lamborghini Quadricorsa Esports team earlier on. But here he is with just a couple of corners left to go. The sun's setting on this race now, Paul. The lights ablaze. The sun is setting on this competition as well. And what a performance this has been by Luca Lozio.
Absolutely. You can almost see a faint smile on his face. He went away quickly when he had to do that car correction, though. The little smirk, he knows he's doing well. He goes sideways, catches it. A little bit po-faced for a moment while he gets the car under control, then a smirk again as he knows that absolutely nothing seems to be getting in his way over the course of this finals day. So then, let's take a look for the last time before he becomes champion. This is Luca Lozio. He knows that he's done absolutely everything. The crowd go wild. There's some cheering here in the arena, an arm up in the air, and Luca Lozio takes his 2nd win of the day to provisionally become the Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports European Regional Final winner. That was beautiful, Chaz.
Absolutely beautiful indeed, Paul. Really, really well done to Luca Lozio. Florenz, I don't think is going to keep that third position either. And just looking at the timing, I think Ho Chung Chan is going to go into third place. And then we're going to have Romagnoli up into fourth position. And then we are going to have, who else? Yeah, then it would have been actually Florenz then going into fifth position. Trying to do all the maths and the numbers here so I can try and put the points together on the entry list and just figure out where everybody ended up. But the important one at the front is Luca Lozio, and he takes the win in both races here. First off at Donington Park in the wet, and now at Paul Ricard in the dry. Epic performances on both occasions. And let's not forget, he didn't start that second race where he finished race 1. He had to re-qualify, put in a fast time and do that again. Epic stuff from the new driver for the Automobili Lamborghini Esports team. And yet again, Paul and I have enjoyed a fantastic competition here. Paul's just making his way up to the stage to go and congratulate our drivers and our top 3 finishers. They'll get a lovely trophy that you might have seen during the broadcasts as well. But at this point, let me just say a quick thank you to our technical partner, Moser, for everybody from AK Esports as well, and Lamborghini, everyone behind the scenes that's been doing all of the work to bring this competition together. To have me on as well, it's been an absolute joy, and it's just been a very seamless competition, I'd say. There's been so many brilliant people behind the scenes that have qualified from all over the world, but the EU final is the one they wanted to win, to get here to Jerez, and obviously take the seat at the Automobili Lamborghini Esports team. A lot of you have been watching in the YouTube chat as well. It's been great to hear from you guys and see what you've all thought of it as well. Some of the racing has been mighty exciting. Some of them have been not as exciting visually, but let's not forget that the most exciting races sometimes are the ones where there's a chase going on. It's not always the overtakes. Like Paul said earlier, there's been a few races where the drivers have to sort of just play it easy and just take their time and think about the bigger picture. In a competition like this, you can't be making overtakes at every single corner and just sending it down the inside everywhere. I'm going to put some highlights on screen, show you some of the overtakes and the moments from that race, and there were some great drives through the order actually. Romagnoli doing a really good job. Tiskiewicz must have heard Paul in the opening moments of the competition, and he, when Paul was saying that Tiskiewicz was not quite making the progress he would have expected, he said, right, hold my drink, watch this, I'm going to go forward here. And he eventually, I think, got up into 6th position in that one. So he was the driver that finished just behind, that would have been Florenz in 5th place. So Florenz ended up getting 6 points. Tiskiewicz would have ended up with 5 points from that. So he comes away with a total of 11, but 32 points going the way of our eventual winner, Luca Lozio. Zampedri actually got some well-earned points in that one. Let's not forget, he finished 2nd in the first race of this event today. So finishing down there in 7th, that wouldn't have pleased him as much as that 2nd place earlier on. David Kolotchai was next. He scored 3 points in that. That's 2 8th place finishes for him. Seminara was in 9th spot, so he got 2 points for his troubles there, only 2 from this competition. And then Bonsignore got 1 point to go with that as well. So I'm going to start adding up some numbers here and see who got what and who we had as the 2nd and 3rd placed drivers. And to be honest with you, I think it's very clear who our overall winner is, because nobody else got more than 20 points by the look of it on here, based on my maths anyway. So that gives Luca Lozio the championship, and the drive at the Automobili Lamborghini Esports team. 2nd place, I believe, went the way of Michael Romagnoli, 10 points in the first race, 8 in the second race, and then that would mean that Mattia Zampedri got, actually, despite just those 4 points in that second race, that first race really saved him, because he ended up with 16 points. He was only 2 ahead of Max Lorenz and Ho Chung Chan as well. A big shout out to Ho Chung Chan, the wild card that came into this event, doing an amazing job here tonight and really showing everybody what for. And it's certainly a name that we'll remember for future events. We'll look forward to seeing him in other events in the future, whether it be an SRO esports event, whether it be here with Lamborghini. But now Luca Lozio has the mammoth task of racing for the esports team in some of the world's biggest sim racing competitions, especially here on Assetto Corsa Competizione simulator. Very demanding, very realistic, great to look at, as I'm sure you'll all agree. And it's been lovely to bring you this series once again on this fantastic sim. Lovely move there down the inside by Zampedri. We can see all the overtakes going on. Let me just take a second here from back in the UK to say thank you for listening to me this season. I'm going to sign off in just a second and hand you over to my lovely colleague Paul Jeffrey. He's there on stage and he's going to welcome all the drivers. But once again, thank you from me. It's been an absolute joy to be on this series. Thanks to everyone that's helped me get here to this point. Thanks to Lamborghini, Moser and AK Esports. I'm going to say goodbye now, but I'll hand you over to the very capable hands, the very tall, capable hands of Paul Jeffrey.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have done this season with you and this regional final as well. But before we bring our podium drivers on, though, I've got the distinct pleasure of having a special guest for a very quick chat. I am with Rafael Vedovello. I got that right, didn't I? Who is the esports manager of the Automobili Lamborghini brand. So, Rafael, what do you think of what you've just seen? That's been a fantastic showcase of sim racing from our drivers, hasn't it?
In fact, I enjoyed a lot of here the esports more than the real race. So the esports, it's really fantastic and very excited to energetic to watch. So very, very nice.
We've spoken many times, Chaz and I, about how proud and privileged we are to be a part of this, a small part of this programme. But for Lamborghini, what does it mean to be involved in the esports space and potentially talking to a new young audience about the brand and what we're doing here?
This is essentially for us and for Lamborghini because this is in your DNA to be bound, to be unique on this kind of activity. So it's very important to us to be inside this community and to bring these guys to be closer for the real race. That was the dream of everyone here to be a racing driver or to be part of this event. So awesome, and Lamborghini push the limits for this.
Well, it is absolutely wonderful, as I say, to be a part of this one. I think I speak on behalf of everybody involved that we're so proud of what has been achieved so far here in the Real Race Super Trofeo Esports. But you have the honour of handing out these beautiful trophies. So I can see people are chomping at the bit somewhat. Let's call our top 3 drivers to the ceremony. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, not for you at home, but certainly for you in the arena, can I have a big round of applause for our provisional 3rd place finisher, Mattia Zampedri. Congratulations! So Mattia, if I could ask you to stand there for me, please. And then, in 2nd position, Michael Romagnoli. And gents, if I could ask you just to shuffle up a little bit, please, for me. Through this way, please, Michael. And then, I want the biggest cheer of everybody in this room. It is our new winner. It's the one, it's the only, with 2 victories, Luca Lozio. Luca takes the 1st place trophy. And I'll have a quick word with you, Luca, if I may. A beautiful trophy that matches not 1, but 2 sensational drives. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I felt very good. So happy to win here. And yeah, what can I say? 2 perfect races in a row. The key point was the quali. Yeah, just managed to the end.
It's an incredibly difficult environment to race, isn't it? In a LAN event with your fellow drivers alongside you. Just a word about the level of competition all the way through the series, from the qualifiers to today. You've come up against some really, not least of which are these 2 chaps, some really talented drivers, haven't you?
Yeah, I had difficulty in the rain because at the start I had to program the software of the Monza, but yeah, I managed to take the perfect in all, and yeah, I did the 2 perfect quali, perfect lap.
Perfect is a wonderful way to summarise your campaign. Gentlemen, all 3 of you have been fantastic today. Everybody who's taken part, not just today, but the 4,000 plus people that we've had in this competition in general. It's been sensational. And I think I cannot wait. Oh, we've all gone the wrong way around, but it doesn't matter. There you go, chaps, get yourself in there. We go. It's been brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And a big thanks to AK Esports that have made all this possible. To Lamborghini, of course, as well, for this being their series. To our technical partner as well, Moser Racing, who provided some wonderful equipment all the way through. To the boys and girls behind the scenes who are too numerous to mention by name, but they make these things happen. From myself, Paul Jeffrey, from Chaz Draco, who's been with you all season, we have loved every second of it. I hope you have too. And I'm going to sign out from Jerez and say thank you all for watching. It's been fantastic.